Evening, Rio.
Hello, mate. You all right?
Oh, you can hear me. That's all right. That's good. Yeah. Just waiting for the team to unmute themselves. Evening, Rio.
Hello, mate. You all right?
Oh, you can hear me. That's all right. That's good. Yeah. Oh, that's the just waiting for it. Put that on mute. That was the, so we've got about a 30-second delay.
Good evening, everybody. We are live. We are live. No swearing, please. Just waiting for one or two more to join, and then we can get going. How is everybody? We good?
Not bad, mate.
Good. I've had a bit of a week, but I'm getting better.
Well, that's good to hear. Well, the latter half, of course, not the early half. Presuming that's not a good one.
I had a problem with my ear, which was painful enough, but then it also affected the balance organs, or Mo Salah syndrome, as I decided to call it.
Mo Farah syndrome.
No, Mo Salah.
We are live in case you're not aware.
Yeah.
Broadcasting across the web, telling everyone about your Mo Salah syndrome. How is it? You okay now? Are you good?
Yeah, I've got some tablets for it. If I stop for a minute and disappear, it's because the world started revolving.
If you take a sudden dive off the sofa into the camera, we know that it's kicked in. Yeah.
But I've got tablets, but the downside of the tablets is that they do make one a little bit sleepy. So right. So nobody will notice the difference anyway. So
can someone? Oh, it's all right. Don't worry. I was going to say, can someone put the link in the mods forum for Pinky? But I'll do it. I've got it here. Okay. Bear with me just a second. We'll get cracking in just a minute, everybody. If you're tuning in, wondering why the KUMB Awards show isn't going on at the moment, but bear with us just a second. We're just waiting for our final member of the team to arrive, and he'll be there as soon as I've hit this link. Let me just check that we're live across the web and on the forum, that everything's working okay. Let's have a look. Dum 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 dum, and then we'll get cracking straight. Well, yes, we are. It's all looking good. Excellent. Right, I think we can pretty much go live. Just waiting for Pinky to join in, and then I shall get us going. I'll introduce everybody in just a moment when we get going proper, and we'll take it from there. Nick, looking very awardsy there, dig in the background there, mate.
Yeah, I thought I'd make the effort, like. I was going to put a bow tie and suit on, but it's too bloody hot.
It is a bit here.
I'm even in this t-shirt, and I was like, so I might be stripping off later.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I
will disappear then.
Have a couple of beers down me, and I'll do a dance.
That'll murder our PG rating on YouTube, but
no, it'll get loads of viewers though. That's the thing. We'll get tons of them.
Sympathy.
Hello to John Harrington, who's the first to comment on the live stream. John says, evening or hello from a very sweaty Toulouse, where it's still, get this, 36 degrees centigrade at 8:30 p.m. That's a scorcher.
My other half's just had to go out to Morocco for work purposes, so I shudder to think what it must be like there.
Who's this at the bottom in our midst? This new face. It's young. Who is it?
I mean, usually I'd make a joke about your age, but when I came in, you were talking about the pills you were taking and having to have a lie down. So I thought I'm just not going to bother. I think my work's been done for me.
Well, I mean, of course, this is our 25th year.
Well, that's why it's PG. We've got Wilco on.
Well, yeah. Well, we've got
this is how Jack feels
at some point. So
does your mum know you're here?
I said these are all the jokes I say to Jack and he hates, and I'm getting it back. I mean, I'm looking forward to his arrival.
Yes. I've paired you with him, as you will have noted, Chris, already.
I thought it was a suitable award as well.
Well, yeah, absolutely. There was a great deal of thinking that went well. Not really. It just took me 10 seconds, but yeah, I thought it would be quite apt. Hello to Connor Green, who says, "Quick, let's all get on the Boris thread while they're all occupied." Cunning.
Elsie's still around. It's fine.
Yes, that's true. Yeah. Elsie and Briz are still keeping the fort. So you lot behave yourselves while we're on here enjoying ourselves tonight. We're just waiting for Pinky to turn up. Rio, that's a striking garment you've got on there tonight. That's is that a birthday present, buddy, by perchance?
No, I've got some cash for my birthday, and I thought, you know what? It's an award ceremony. Let's make it kind of, a little bit special. So I put the new blouse on, especially bought half the press, off the Romford stall. Service to the grimace as ever from Romford. It's just, yeah.
How does it feel? What's the verdict from someone who's actually seen it rather than us that just moaned about it on the on Tinternet?
You know what? I've not been adverse to it, and I looked at it in the store, and I thought, you know what? It's a lot better in person than it looked on the images. The colours, proper clarity. Yeah, it's good. It's good. I quite like it. I hated the original it was based on, but yeah, it looks all right. It's a little bit different.
It actually looks all right on you, Brie. I've got to say, I I'm not a fan. Claret and blue, easy formula to follow for me, but it looks good. It's what? Sorry.
Are you coming on to me? That looks rather fetching on you.
Play your cards right. The night's young, mate.
What's your background?
There goes the PG rating.
So I've just locked the Johnson thread in the nose up Mother Brown. No, it's fine.
Well, look, we're gonna get cracking because we are running to a schedule tonight, and as you'll be aware, if you've been reading the bump about tonight's show, we have got some guests joining us, and they're all on deadline. So we're going to do our utmost to stick to that tonight. Gnome's got it. I'm glad someone's got it ready. We'll bring Pinky in when he manages to join him. But let's get cracking straight away. So I should begin by saying welcome, one and all, to the 25th annual KUMB.com Awards, our annual celebration of all things claret and blue. And what a lot there's been to celebrate during the last season. I mean, it's not been a bad year, all in all, for the mighty West Ham, has it? A 7th place Premier League finish, which for about 30 glorious minutes on the final day of the season looked like being 6th again until that second half collapse at Brighton. It's about as negative as we're going to get tonight. Well, or maybe not, but anyway. Plus, of course, a semi-final spot in the Europa League, which sadly ended in heartbreak in Frankfurt, but saw West Ham travel the length and the breadth of the continent. What was the club's first prolonged campaign abroad since 1980? Some good trips out there. Chris is like 1980. What's that? In black and white.
I weren't born. That's all that matters. I weren't born. That's all that matters. All right. I've got the youth, but you've got the knowledge and history of actually seeing West Ham achieve things. So it depends on the trade-off, really. Well,
that's true. There's pluses and minuses to it all, I guess. It's not been a bad year for Knees Up Mother Brown either, because we marked, as we've already said several times tonight, we marked a quarter of a century of covering the highs and lows from West Ham United, as well as expanding our daily coverage of the youth and women's teams. Thanks to the sterling efforts of Richard Johnson, we were able to retain the services of beloved regulars. I stress the word beloved, such as Preview Percy, Chris Wilkerson himself, and Paul Walker, while adding to our arsenal with a couple of young guns in the shape of Callum Goodall and Jack Elderton, who shot to prominence with some incredible podcasts and written content. Did you like that, by the way? That was good. I enjoyed that. And they were, of course, complemented by the musings of thousands of forum members who ensure that we continue to bring you the best platform in the world on which to discuss everything claret and blue, carefully monitored and scrutinised by some of these fine folk joining me tonight. Now, West Ham may, of course, have been... KUMB, of course, should I say, may of course been one of the very first online sources for independent West Ham related content. But there are a whole host of awesome organisations and content creators bringing you excellent coverage of the club these days in various formats. Therefore, it gives me great pleasure to confirm that we're going to be joined by some of the very best of them this evening. The likes of Nikki from West Ham Fan TV, Gonzo from Hammers Chat, Russ for the West Ham Network, and former KUMB podcast podcast host Chris, not that one, the other one, Chris Gull, who now entertains the London Stadium faithful in his current role as matchday host. They're all going to be joining us throughout the evening, hopefully, to reveal the winners of some of tonight's awards. Assuming that is, they all turn up. I don't need to remind you that this is a live show and anything could go wrong. And of course, it probably will in that case. Anyway, without further ado, it gives me great pleasure to introduce you to the rest of your hosts this evening. Tonight, I'm joined by several members of the aforementioned KUMB.com team, including Gordon, aka No, Nick, aka DL, Steve, aka Ria. I've learnt your name now, Ria, your real name. Eamon, aka the Big Palermo, and my co-host for this evening, Chris, aka Wilco1304, who also moonlights as KUMB's match reporter and anchor. That's not a silent W, on the new KUMB podcast. How are we all doing, gentlemen? Are we all good and looking forward to tonight?
They never give me the silent W.
Well, we're going to have a bit of fun, hopefully. As I said, it's a bit of a celebration, not just because it's been an incredible season for West Ham United, but of course it is our 25th year of doing this. We've all been around the block a little. All but Chris, should I say? There's always a but, isn't there, with the new youth in the team? All of us, most of us have been around the block a bit, and quarter of a century we've been doing this now. So we're going to have a bit of fun, hopefully, tonight. So why don't you kick back, crack open a beer or two, and join us for the next couple of hours as we celebrate all things West Ham United and a wonderful 2021-22 season. So let's get straight into it, and do you know what? Let's get the elephants in the room out of the way early, shall we? And do the winners of the worst signing and worst player categories. I'll take this one. We'll run through this very quickly. We're still on time, which is pretty good. Worst signing award. Of course, there wasn't a whole host of new signings last summer, and it was basically Kurt Zouma, Alphonse Areola, Alex Krell, and Nico Vlasic, who are going to feature, I would imagine, elsewhere this evening. But finally, you decided that your worst signing of the season was Alex Crowe, and Alex, unfortunately, also took the worst player of the year, which pretty much is by dint, I would say, of just not playing at all. What did you make of that? I
always feel a bit rotten about worst player, because invariably it goes to people who haven't played very much, either through injury or for whatever reason. And often it's not their fault. It's often it's given not because they've been on the pitch and been bloody awful, which is what that sort of award really should go to. It's just because they've often been injured or just haven't made the team. So maybe it's time for a renaming, and we call this most disappointing,
least effective, perhaps. Yeah, something like that. Rio, were you any surprises there for you to see poor Alex take both those gongs?
Unfortunately, not. He suffered through lack of faith in the management. Really, you would have thought in a squad so short on depth and the amount of games he played, he might have featured a little bit more. But obviously, David Moyes didn't rate him, and you've got to feel sorry for Alex kicking up both of these awards, but. Because the appearances he did make, very briefly, I thought he had a decent game up at Old Trafford in the League Cup. He didn't shine at Kidderminster, but who did have our team?
No.
So, bless him.
Okay.
He had lovely hair as well. So,
he did have lovely hair, very sideshow Bob. Nick, any surprises for you with those two?
No, not really. He's got it by default. He ain't done that. He hasn't really done anything wrong, but there's no one else you can give it to. Even Vlasic scored a goal. So it's a default one. So
okay. I mean, Chris, it's unusual that we make so few signings, during a summer transfer window. But as Nick said, it really was a question of winner by default, wasn't it, this year?
Yeah, we've had some worse players and worse signings, I think. But he's come into a good team, and he's not really had a chance to have an impact, I guess. And if you're looking at signings, they're meant to have an impact at each 1 minute in the Premier League, was it?
Yeah.
And we've got two central midfielders. Oh, well, we have two central midfielders, a 35-year-old man who was trying to retire quite calmly, and a youth player who can only get on for a minute. So it's hard to argue. Just a bit of a shame for him, really. They never seemed to click.
Yes, it was a bit like that, wasn't it? But there you go. So we've got those out of the way nice and early. Anyway, we're going to move on now to some positive and fun stuff. Well, it's going to be like that for the rest of the evening, hopefully. As I said, Chris and I are going to be joint co-hosting tonight, even though I haven't shut up for the last 15 minutes. And
I've really enjoyed it.
Hasn't had a look in yet, but we're going to alternate awards. So I'm going to hand over the reins to Chris now, who's going to bring us our next award of the evening.
I say some of my best presenting so far on these around this patch. Best signing awards. So we go straight from the worst to the best. Get some positivity in it. I think one last year by Vladimir Sufal, by Souček the year before that, following the footsteps of greats such as Rufus Brevet and Igor Stimac. Two big winners that you'd have expected, of course. Nick, who do we go straight onto it? Who have we got?
I think we will go on to it. It's one of those where unusually there wasn't an abundance of signings, so it wasn't one that was particularly easy to, particularly difficult even to choose from. So third place, we have the winner of the worst signing award, Alex Krell, and he actually got 1% of the vote, which is what I love about West Ham fans. In second place, we have our on loan French goalkeeper. Whether he signs permanently is still to be seen. Is Alphonse Areola with 11% of the vote. But a resounding winner out in first place is cat kicker extraordinaire Kurt Zouma with 88% of the votes. So Kurt Zouma is our first winner of a positive award of best signing of 21-22.
Very hard to disagree with that one, isn't it, Nick?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of by default, though, isn't it? It is Kurt Zouma with a massive gap to everybody else because nobody else got a look in. He's the only one that played regularly, and despite his cat kicking escapades, he's romped home with it. But it's not like he had much competition. So another default for me.
So, I mean, Areola, I suppose, gave him a chance, and he's not the only one who's waiting for Newcastle to swoop in. I was hoping maybe a big money deal might take me away from the awards so money tonight. I'm sure I could get about 100 grand up there, just the way they throw money around. But alas, they can't steal everyone. I mean, anyone out there going to disagree with that? I suppose on a moral basis, maybe no, you could, but on terms of on the pitch, he's been the star of the signings.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, there's nothing to argue with that. I mean, purely on football terms, and I appreciate that opinion might be divided due to the aforementioned stuff and his forthcoming community service. Yeah, but if you're just judging on his impact in the side, then it's him or Areola, and Areola really only played sporadically during the cup games. Now, we had a lot more cup games than we normally do, and which was excellent, of course. But yeah, as I say, it's almost by default. I have to pick up on something Graham said the other day. It's unusual that we have so few signings. He said a few minutes ago. No, it ain't.
In the summer window, I said to be.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
I was going to say there wasn't much competition from the winter window this year, was there? We kind of had our choices by then. He did have a good year though, Rio. I think he looked, for the most part, the kind of class for the value that he cost as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think his actual best football for us came in the aftermath of the little bit of scandal. He was by far and away, for me, the best defender in the Premiership in those weeks after all this news broke about the cat incident. He did his talking on the pitch, but he looked an absolute class above most central defenders we've had for a long, long time.
It's fascinating. We've ended up with this Champions League winning centre-back, and he's ended up spending most of the season next to 2.5 million loan, then bought from Watford, Craig Dawson. I'm not sure, 100% sure if I'm going to go to Pinky, because I can't tell if that's just how you're looking this evening or if you're still trying to work out the technology. You've got.
I'm still trying to work out the technology, but I think I'm here.
But yeah, Kurt Zouma signing of the season. Any arguments?
No, I don't think so.
No, I'd be impressed if you had.
Yeah, well, I mean, how many signings? That's the bottom line, isn't it? And I think a good sign that we've gone for a better caliber of player So, you know, where David Moyes has actually got it right. We've got the money together. We've bid for a player the manager clearly wanted. He's come in. He's done a very good job for the team. I have to say he's let himself and the club down badly with the cat kicking thing. But in the grand scheme of things, in terms of crimes against, dare I say, humanity or even animals, yeah, I hope he doesn't do it again. But you know, in terms of what he's done on the pitch, he's done the business for us. So, hit or miss, he's a hit.
He's passed the barometer. I'm trying to think. I think I must have gone for Areola to try and make myself feel better about still supporting. You can lie to yourself, can't you? Sometimes. Graham, he was. I actually struggling to ask a question. I'm trying to think of a way. Areola's one save in the Europa League, maybe that big one-handed save, could have tempted you. But other than the morality of it, it really is difficult to argue in any sense.
Well, I mean, what a save it was. Let's sort that one out first of all. What a fantastic save it was by Areola. But to be fair, he didn't really put a foot wrong, did he? I don't think in any of the time he was here, it just wasn't really used because Fabian Balbuena was employed as our number one keeper for every game, wasn't it? In the Premier League, I think.
Yeah.
But I mean, Zuma, yes, Pinky makes the point. You know, you can't ignore, that incident, and it's a real shame because. For me, he's been one of the best defenders in the Premier League last year. I thought he was outstanding. Popped up some vital goals as well. Some fantastic interventions and blocks. Our man Jack, I'm sure will be able to furnish us with a lot more information when he comes on a bit later. But he's been absolutely immense for us this season. I think we joked about the fact that we've only made 4 summer signings last year, and there wasn't really a great depth of competition. But I think we might have signed 10 or 15, and I think he would have been top of the pile because I think he just had that much influence on the team. When you consider some of the players we considered buying instead, the lad from Fiorentina, what was his name at Forest, Joe Worrell. Was one that apparently was lined up to come last summer, and Moyes had spoke to him, but then obviously the Zuma deal came through, and it was a fantastic signing. I think it's probably not just the best signing we've made last year, but quite possibly one of the best signings we've made in the last 10 years.
It's decisive as well, wasn't it? It wasn't having a gamble. It wasn't looking for your low cost alternative. He wanted a top quality centre back, and it looks like he's doing it again with Agard as well. The way it looks like that's going, it's he'll pay the money because he's one of those positions you absolutely have sorted. It's your spine, and you need the spine absolutely solid. Yeah,
it's I mean, I've not seen the new guy Agard play yet, but all the the stats are good. We spoke to Misco, of course, our man from Ligue 1 on the forum, who's obviously well versed in such things, and he tells us he's one of the best defenders in the French top flight last year. So I'm looking forward to seeing them two play together, assuming that goes through, as we're expecting it to any minute, as has been the case for about the last month, quite frankly.
Still tracking planes.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, that was good, wasn't it? That was good. But yeah, so no complaints from me anyway. It's a yes from here.
Moves us on it probably moves on to the most improved, which might fit in quite nicely between the two.
Yes. Back to me, isn't it? I'm just looking at the clock. I'm just trying to make sure that we're running the schedule. We're actually 2 minutes ahead of schedule. This is unheard of for a KUMB broadcast. It's ridiculous. And
I think I've got.
Sorry, Chris, go on.
There's a great joke about being early and a bus driver being with us, but I'm not sure I've quite connected the dots yet. I'll work it out as we get there.
Oi!
Nick's probably early.
I keep getting done for running early, so yeah.
Well, as Chris rightly said, we're moving on to the next award of the evening, our fourth award of the evening, and for this one, we are joined by our first guest of the session, a good friend of the show. Big round of applause, everybody, for Mr. Russ Budden. There you go. There you go. Bit muted, chaps. We can do better, can't we? Poor Russ. He's put himself out.
When bloody Chris turns up or Nicky, but yeah, you'll be well by then, isn't it?
It won't be, Russ. It won't be.
I see.
Russ, it's lovely to have you with us. Thank you very much for agreeing to come on and read out the nominations and winner of this award. Before we do so, there will be some people out there who've not seen you before and don't know what you do. Quite what they've been doing for the last few years, I don't know. But tell us what West Ham Network is all about and how people can get in touch with you and watch your content.
Yeah, so we are a YouTube channel, West Ham Network. We were two separate channels and we joined together a while ago. And yeah, we do a bit of everything, really. We get a lot of ex-players on, a lot of ex-players doing live Q&As and stuff like that. Daily content, and obviously daily content, which is on the KUMB website as well with Hammer's Headlines. That's just one show we do a daily show. We do all the watch-alongs like everyone else. But yeah, we do a lot of the ex-players. So we've had, the last couple of weeks, we've had people like Tim Breaker on. We've had Shaka on. We've had Tony Carr on. We've had Patsy Holland on. We've had hundreds of ex-players on. And yeah, hopefully next week, I know you've got hopefully John Ratomski coming on. We should be having one of our ex-player game show nights in association with the Iron Sporting Food Bank, where we get some ex-players. Probably like I think Steve Jones is up for it. I think Kevin Keane's coming on, trying to get Kenny Brown, Jimmy Walker, and we have a bit of fun at their expense. So we have a bit of fun. That's what we're
awesome.
trying to do.
There you go. What's your channel URL in case anyone's looking?
So it's West Ham Network. West Ham Network, all one word. YouTube, all on Twitter and Facebook, all that stuff. Yeah, you'll be sick of us.
Excellent. There you go. And of course, as Russ pointed out there, you can catch up with the West Ham Network every day, every weekday at least, on KUMB, on the Hammers Headlines, which Russ shares the duties with Anton, his partner at the West Ham Network. Available via the homepage on KUMB.com every day. And of course, the West Ham Network video channel. Russ, of course, you're quite well known at West Ham for something else, aren't you? It's not just the channel you run.
No. So this year just gone within my 21st year that I've been. I know I don't look old enough. I know. Moisturize.
None of us do.
For 21 years, I've been spinning the discs at West Ham. So 21 years I've been playing that bloody Bubbles song. I think we figured out it's something like over 1,000 times we've played that. I must have played that song. But yeah, no, I've been doing that for over 20 years. Privileged to do it every year. Obviously, I kept quiet and just moved with the furniture. We moved from the old girl to the new place, and it's great fun. And obviously, we were doing it during lockdown as well. So I was fortunate of being one of the 200 or 300 people who were at every game. So we were still playing all the bloody music and everything. So yeah.
Russ, I've got to ask you.
Yeah.
What do you make of this new DJ who's down in the corner in front of the Bobby Moore stand?
I love. That's only for the European games. We get Tony up. I love Tony. He's a lovely bloke.
There's no competition between the two of you. You're not sitting there thinking, I wish I was doing that. They've stuck me up here No,
I mean, you see my view, Graham. I have a bad view, to be honest. But poor Tony's stuck on ground level. No, it's for the European games. We wanted to do, we didn't do it for the group stages, but obviously once we got to the sort of the Sevilla games and Lyon and Frankfurt, we wanted to do something a bit more. Just try something a bit different. And so, yeah, Tony, he's the England DJ. So he did all the Euro 2020 stuff. And so, yeah, that's his job. But no, I love Tony. He's lovely bloke. No animosity at all. It's brilliant because like the European games, he does it all. I just sit upstairs, watching the game and just let him
best view in the stadium.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, anyway, as I said, mate, we're very grateful that you've tipped up and agreed to do this as one of the friends of the show, and as I say, part of the the excellent independent content that some West Ham fans are putting out there. But I guess it's time we moved on to the award, which is of course the most improved player. Shall we do it in reverse order? Russ, over to you.
Yeah, let's do reverse order. So in third place with only 5%. Of the votes was Mr. Pablo Fornals. Look, I've even printed him up. There you go, Pablo Fornals.
Look at this technology.
Has been spent here. No expense has been spent. Pablo Fornals, he was 5% of the vote. Then in second place with a quarter of the vote, 25%, was Ballon Dawson. Yes, great shout. most improved player. He's about 30. How old is he? 32. Most improved player. Fucking hell. And then in first place with 61% of the votes. Any guesses, gentlemen? Any guesses who it could be? It's not Arthur Masuaku.
There's no good me guessing.
I'm going to guess Jared Bowen.
Bowen, it was a toss up between him and Arthur Masuaku, but it was Jared Bowen. It was Jared Bowen, 61%. So he's on fire and he's doing all the stuff with Danny Dyer. But he's and I think that's a bang on result. I think that's about right, isn't it?
Yeah, there you go. Jared Bowen taking the most improved player. What a season he's had. We really at the start of the season, if you remember, people were kind of wondering about, his effectiveness in front of goal and sort of wondering, if he was ever going to make it as a top flight striker. But here we are. What was it? 18 goals this season.
And some again, the statos amongst us will have some figure for assists. There was at one point they were showing charts of goals and assists, and he was pretty near the top of them. And deservedly, if belatedly due to injury, capped by England. Although we've probably got to draw a veil over that. No, very well deserved. Delighted for him. He's got that sort of enthusiasm for the game itself that shows in his play. I mean, not every player's got that. But you can tell he loves the game just by what he does out there, and I'm always up for players who do that. So well deserved. Yeah.
Rio, Jared Bowen, deserved winner for this one.
Absolutely. In the close season last year, he went away. He took it upon himself to boost his fitness levels, boost his stamina rate, and the results were there for all to see. He's been absolutely exemplary this season. And to force his way into the England setup with, let's be honest, I know the last week's been a bit shocking for England, but we haven't done too bad in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And to force your way into that kind of setup, it's just a mark of how well he's played and his appetite for the game and his performances week in, week out. They've been absolutely amazing for us. He's a breath of fresh air, really.
Pinky, any concerns or worries of the way this one's gone? You think that's the right choice?
I think it's absolutely the right choice, and it's fantastic to see a player that's come through. One hesitates to call it, but the lower leagues. We picked him up from Hull City.
Yeah.
6 years ago, he was playing non-league football. There you go. Now he's a superstar in a top half of the table Premier League team. Capped for England, got a fairly decent looking girlfriend. I mean, we can argue about her if you want, but I mean, you wouldn't really grumble, would you? I think if I was Jared Bowen, I'd be sitting there going, life's pretty damn good at the minute. Tell me how it's going to get any worse.
No complaints.
I mean, he's done well. He works incredibly hard for the team, and for me, that's his key quality. It's the work rate. You can have all the skill in the world. You can have all the flicks and the tricks you want. And you know who I'm talking about here. But actually, it's the willingness to work hard for the team, to run forward, to run back. It's what you do without the ball that defines you as a player. And Bowen has been magnificent this year.
Certainly has. Nick, can he have the same impact on England at the World Cup this winter as another former Hammer? I'm thinking of Trevor Sinclair. Of course, was a late inclusion. Was it 2002?
It was.
But did fantastically well.
I think he'd have a much bigger impact than Trevor Sinclair. I think he's far better player than Trevor Sinclair ever was. He's only going to get better, and we're going to have a job without wanting to put a downer on things. I think maybe not this summer, but January or next summer, we're going to have a job keeping hold of him because he's the real deal. And it just goes to show that there is talent and that there is value to be had down in the Championship and the lower leagues. When he signed, he wasn't thrown straight into the team. Moyes managed him extremely well, despite calls from the fans of, play Jared Bowen.
Yeah.
He ignored that. He brought him in when he was good and ready. And we've got one of the best players in his English players in his position in the country now.
Yeah, we certainly.
His career is only going to go up from here. Make the most of him, basically, because if he gets any better, the big boys will be around him.
Well, I mean, we've seen. I mean, Russ, we've seen, as Nick says, we've seen Jared linked with the likes of Klopp's all over him. We know that. Arsenal have expressed their interest recently. Do you see him staying at West Ham for a while? I mean, how good do you think he can be?
Well, I think when Bowen's come along, we've sort of had this. We always used to look at how many goals people scored. Now we've got goal contributions, so we add up both. Because he's top now, so it's like you can prove anything with statistics. But I mean, with Bowen, he's an exceptional player, and I think you say with all the speculation. I mean, he came. We did an interview the other day, wasn't it? We basically said that he's at the level he's happy to play at the moment. In the same way, I think Declan Rice is as well. Eventually, if we don't show ambition, then yeah, they will probably move. But that's up to the powers that be to make sure there is that ambition. And so, but I mean, you look at Bowen. I think he's all right. He'll be safe for this summer because obviously, in terms of Klopp, they spent a little bit on that Núñez bloke, so he's all right. And they still got Diaz, and they still got Jota, and they still got Firmino coming back, and Salah's still there. So maybe next summer Salah might leave, or maybe he'll leave in January. The World Cup's going to really bugger everything up in terms of the transfer window and stuff. So it's almost like the whole season's going to be a really strange season, I think. But I think with Bowen, I think we'll be right for this season, and then in the summer, in the same way, I think Declan Rice will have that same sort of will they, won't they? Because they'll have people looking at them. After the top six, we are the next best club, really. So people are going to be looking at our players.
Yeah, certainly are. Certainly, Russ. Thank you very much for coming on and reading the winners and the losers as well for us this evening. Very best of luck with the West Ham Network. Once again, Russ from the West Ham Network. Get involved, get over to the channel. There's some absolutely wonderful content on there, and these boys are pumping it out on a regular basis. Russ has got one more thing he wants to add. I was about to say, talking about championship players, my top 5 pick championship players West Ham should buy tomorrow. Oh, there we go. Timely. Any sneak preview? One that we... Lewis Potter, he's quite good. Excellent. What time can we catch that, Russ? That'll be on lunchtime. We always try and do a lunchtime show and the 5 o'clock show we're on the KUMB website as well. All right, mate. Well, thank you very much for coming on, and we shall catch up again very soon. But Russ from the West Ham Network, there bringing us the winner of this year's Most Improved Player Award from the West Ham Network. Get over there, get involved. And there he is. There's our winner. There he is. Jarrod Bowen. What a season he's had, and promises much for next year. I'm going to pass over now to Chris, who is going to bring us our next award of the evening. And I'm just getting our guest in as we speak. Look at this. Everything's working like clockwork, Chris. It's unbelievable.
Well, the fun thing is when you introduced Russ there, you had to have a conversation, like, you didn't, get introduce the person, know who they are, kind of get to know. Obviously, I speak to Jack most bloody days now. So I don't really, this kind of, oh, hi, Jack, how's your summer going?
Oh, thanks. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Nice to hear from you again. Some of you, hopefully most of you will know Jack alongside me and Cal on the KUMB West Ham podcast, as well as his post-game reflections and analysis threads, his transfer analysis, his articles, his every bloody which way and where. He's really doing something every other day at least. You get to, fittingly, staying up ahead of past your bedtime on a school day. Yes, I knew I'd get one in. Get to do the Young Player of the Year award, Jack. I mean, it's been a hell of a year. I presume, a lot of these will be people go for first team appearances well, but the youth teams have had, but both the development teams have had stellar years down there in the under 23s, etc. as well.
Yeah, it's been a really strong season for the youth teams. Lots of good players coming through, big decisions coming up now about, what we do in terms of loans or promoting players to the senior team and trying to keep everyone happy. There's been a lot of news about Perkins recently, but also I think we've got to be very careful with the development of Longelo, Ashby, Alisi as well, who all want game time. So trying to make that work next season will be a challenge.
Definitely. I mean, the last 4, I think it's been won 4 times in a row by Declan Rice. I think we're on at the moment, if I looked correctly. other winners. I mean, it's been won by all the big names, really. Rio's had it, not yourself. Jermaine Defoe's had it. Carrick's had it. I mean, you could have even longer ago for you, Rio, I'm sure. Even Gnomes won it once upon a time as well. Well, I've got to get the head attack here because I think there's a group of men here, Jack, who are really ready to get you on statistics and analytics. So I'm trying to do the shield. If I get them all angry at me, it'll be fine. I'll protect you. Have you got a golden envelope you could read down from third to third place for us, Jack?
I don't have a golden envelope, but I do have a Twitter DM.
It's the modern way.
Yeah, it's how these things are done these days. So in third place, actually a couple of the players I've named are going to pop up here, but in third place with 2% of the vote, which does foreshadow that there's a clear winner here, is Ajabala Alisi, who has had a really strong season in the under-23s and has some interest this summer from championship clubs. So it'd be really interesting for him, I think, if he gets a move to the championship and can solidify a place in one of the championship first teams. In second place, I've got Harrison Ashby with 3% of the vote. Bit of a shaky start to the season defensively, but went on to have a very, very strong season from an offensive perspective and grew as the season went on as a defender. A couple of appearances in the first team where he made a pretty good account of himself. I think I remember Spurs being one of his in the League Cup being one of the times we saw him, I think, or potentially in the Premier League. But yeah, just on the cusp of the first team, probably the most likely to make the jump next season. But then obviously the standout winner this year with 93% of the vote, Ben Johnson, who did a magnificent job deputising in both fullback positions.
He has had a strong, he's really come on. He's caught the eye, big performances in Europe. I think Sevilla away, less so than Sevilla home. If I remember correctly, it was a tough game. Lyon at home. Was it Lyon with a red card? He struggled at left back, but was really instrumental in that. One of those goals in the first half as well, Jack. I mean, how do you think he's going to go on to become the kind of a Premier League starting fullback? Has he got the ability to grow his attacking ability, the skill?
I'd expect him to be a Premier League starting fullback, yeah. Whether he can be a top 8 Premier League starting fullback is, I think there's still a big question mark over that. I think he has to develop significantly from an offensive perspective, given how much is asked of fullbacks at the top end of the Premier League these days. I think defensively he's very, very strong. Unsurprisingly, really, because I've seen him play several times as a right-sided centre half in a 3 for the under-23. So he's got a lot of ability in those situations, and particularly suited actually to Moyes taking sort of more passive decisions defensively rather than being proactive and stepping out of the back line. We tend to drop off, and he fits into that very well. But yeah, he has grown offensively as the season has gone on. One of the curious things about him has been that he generally has performed better from left back going forward, despite that being his weaker side. But it'll be interesting to see if he can grow further from right back. He's got to be a little bit more confident at releasing the ball with his first touch when in the final third. That's the next big step for him.
It's hard to disagree with that, Pinky, isn't it, really? As Ben Johnson as the winner, there's little competition to push through, and I guess Rice is old enough now that we're moving him into the senior divisions.
Yeah, I mean, Rice has got over 100 appearances under his belt. You know, you can't be putting him in with the youngsters any longer. Ben Johnson, I think, has done very well this season. You know, he's played in 3 of the back 4 positions for the first team, which, you know, where there's more senior players, dare I say it, without actually say commitment to the cause, you just might be saying to the manager, no, I'm a right back and that's where I want to play, or no, I'm a left back and I'm not really comfortable filling in anywhere else. Johnson is the youngster. Well, he plays where the manager tells him to play, and he's done it very well indeed. And hats off to him. I think young Harrison Ashby as well. I like the look of him, the little bit we saw of him. But for sheer sort of enthusiasm, in his short cameo that he came on in one of the European games, I think, young Chester's, he came on and he was going like a million miles an hour. You'd think he'd be ideal for Liverpool. Must be an asthma sufferer or something like that, because I've never seen such energy in a player. But you know, Johnson for the young player of the year, no question. Really good player. Good season.
Spurious legal claims aside, I mean, it's a hell of. We've got a lot of depth in those competitions. Those younger ages. We had Longello obviously played on the left side as well, and I think Alisi can probably. Seeing from his goal of the season contender, the way he ran the field in the development squad, he looks like he's got the ability on the ball to be a fullback. I mean, it's been good to watch this year, hasn't it, Rio? Johnson's development and coming on, and he's one of those players you can kind of see his bits of improvement, can't you? Suddenly he seems to do something more next month and something more the month after.
Yeah, he's continually evolving, and it's great to see. As Pinky rightly pointed out, his versatility, he's covered 3 different positions, all with absolute aplomb. I think the biggest mark of you can say about him is that David Moyes actually trusts him. A lot of youngsters over the last 18 months have made kind of cameo appearances, briefly fitted in and out of the first team setup, but Ben Johnson has established himself as one of the key components of our squad, and it's great to see. He's done incredibly well, and as you say, he's continually evolving, and hopefully that will continue next year.
I've just laughed to myself now because it is somewhat ironic that you mentioned, Graham, that we were on time, in fact, early, and then I've introduced Jack. And this is going to be the section that we're running over on. As Jack will tell you, there's nothing I've ever recorded on the Decent Rant podcast that has ever been on time. He once asked me and Cal to do a 15-minute transfer segment, and we sent him something that was over an hour to edit. So you can just see it's only fitting, really, that I make sure this goes a little bit long.
Well, can we get Jack to give us a plug of before he goes of what else he's involved in? Because it's not only the KUMB podcast that he's done some fantastic stuff. We've also a lot of those articles. We had that behemoth of an article. Was it January, Jack? Wasn't it, where it was a suggested signing a day? Wonderful stuff. Are we going to get something like that again this summer?
Absolutely not. No.
One for 3 months.
I'm never doing that again. No, I in the summer, Cal and I will be doing articles on players that do sign and trying to give an insight into them. I've done a lot recently over the last week of footage review for Knife Gerd. Whether that ends up happening or not, we'll see. But we'll have something ready to go by the time it does happen, or shortly afterwards, and we'll keep tabs on players that look like coming out. I think we're going to do a few articles on players that we would really strongly recommend as well, but we won't be covering the bases on every link we hear, because that was ridiculous.
And we've got some Twitter spaces and some podcasts coming. Not that I've got a vested interest in those ones.
We've got, so it's bi-weekly stuff from the KUMB podcast. We'll be on Twitter. Alternating between Twitter Spaces and then regular podcasts that you can listen to on Spotify. And I'll be back next season with weekly threads on Twitter breaking down each match and the tactics and effectiveness of those and individual player performances. And then also hopefully be doing some probably monthly reviews of player performance, looking at the data side of things a little bit more.
Okay, excellent. Well, Jack, it's been a pleasure having you as part of the team this year. It really has, you and Callum. Keep on doing what you're doing. It's fantastic to read and listen to, and it's brought another dimension to the site. So we're very grateful for your input this year, and look forward to lots more of it anyway next year and beyond, hopefully. There you go, Jack Elderton from the KUMB podcast and Twitter sphere star, of course. Bringing us the result of the Young Player of the Year award. We are going to move swiftly on because, as Chris said, look, we're 3 minutes over time now, so we've got to catch up a bit somewhere. So I shall stop banging on and introduce our new guest very shortly. Here he is, another member of the KUMB team. It's Mr. Paul Walker, everybody. Round of applause for Mr. Walker.
Hi, Graham. How are you, mate?
There you go. I'm good, mate. I'm good. You're looking very tanned. It's almost as if you've been on holiday somewhere.
Well, I have. I've been out of the country for 2 weeks. I've managed to avoid all that transfer nonsense, which doesn't happen. I thoroughly enjoyed it, really, but being excellent.
Did you didn't fly from Manchester again by perchance, did you? And
well, actually, I flew from Liverpool.
Okay.
On the day of the European Cup final, when there was 25,000 Liverpool fans going through John Lennon Airport. And Liverpool Airport handled it brilliantly, absolutely brilliantly. No problem whatsoever.
Well, that's good. I mean, because Manchester's been a bit of a nightmare, hasn't it? By
It has,
accounts
yeah.
in recent
It
weeks.
has. There's just not enough staff there working on the baggage. As simple as that, really. We came back at the weekend, a reasonable time, didn't have any problems, but I know lots of people have had horrendous problems, and that's another argument.
Yeah, certainly have. We better move on, mate, because as I said, we're running a couple of minutes behind schedule. And we're trying to keep keeping it in line this year. So most missed player award. Now, I probably need to explain this a little bit because it's probably not quite obvious what that is. What the most missed player award refers to is the player who left West Ham before the end of the season, and you, as a fan base, felt the club missed most. So it's got to be. It's usually a player. I think once we didn't have a player; it was someone different. But generally speaking, it's a player that wins this award. Just to give you an idea of some of the players we've had in the past. The very first winner of this 12 years ago was Dean Ashton. And then followed by players like Alessandro Diamante, Demba Ba, Wally Downs. There you go, Wally Downs. Bizarrely won that in 2013. Not quite sure why he was so missed, but must have been
a joke.
Must have been a slow year, that one. Dylan Tambides, of course, 2014, Jack Collison, Cotton Cole, Dimmy Pyatt, Diafra Sacco, James Collins, and most recently Marko Arnautovic. Paul is going to tell us who's won the award this year. Paul, in reverse order, let's start on number 3 and go up with the percentages if you can, my friend.
I haven't got them written down here, actually, Graham. I'm sorry, mate, but
Okay.
I do know who's won. I do know who's won it.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll do third. This is good. This is the first little balls up we've had this evening. So to get
Don't blame me.
Balls up, Mother Brown.
balls up, Mother Brown. So to get this far in the evening, it is pretty good. I'll give you third and second then, and I'll let you do the winner, Paul.
Okay.
Third place in the most missed category this year is central defender Fabian Balbuena with 5%. 1 in 20 of you felt that we could have done with that extra defender this season. We certainly could have done towards the end, couldn't we? At points. Runner-up this year, a player who spent, was it a decade at the club? Last played was, I think, in 2019, but obviously, very affectionately held in the thoughts of many Hammers fans, probably a lot for that goal he scored against Millwall with 7%. In second place, Mr. Winston Reid, who I understand he's actually still without a contract, 33 years old and still trying to find a new contract. But anyway, that brings us on to our winner of this year's most missed award, most missed player award. I haven't missed the award, missed the player. Most missed player award with 86%, a stunning 86%. Mr. Walker is
Jesse Lingard.
Jesse Lingard, of course.
It can't be anybody else, can it?
Well, it's the right choice, yes, Paul?
Sorry, yes. I mean, it's the right choice by a long way. I mean, I think that if he'd have come back to us in January when we tried to get him on loan, we'd have won the Europa League. I think that he was the different level of player. And when he actually arrived the year before, people said, okay, he's not in the United team, and whatever. But we're talking about a player who had talent, skill, technique, experience at the highest level, which 3/4 of our team don't have. I mean, if you look at the players in our team who played in the Champions League, who played in European football regularly, you're talking a handful. You really are. And I think Jesse would have given us that bit extra at a very important time, the experience to take us on like he did the year before. It's an argument that his arrival probably won us that place in the Europa League in the first place. Yeah. That effort from January onwards was phenomenal, and we actually got to see a player who plays regularly at the highest level, Manchester United, highest level, all his life, Champions League, England, and I think it showed. I think when he's wasn't in the side, that showed as well. Now, that's not trying to reignite the Saïd Benrahma argument about down the left-hand side. Jesse is so much better a player than Benrahma, who is technically very good, tactically very a bit suspect, but not in the same level, not at the same level. And we would have won. I think we would have won the Europa League with him.
Should we bring him back now?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yeah. Can you hear me? I'd say, should we sign him now, or is it?
Well, this is a different argument. I mean, we tried to. I think the manager tried to get him back in January. He tried the back end of last summer. but he was told by Ole Gunnar Solskjaer that he would be given a chance at Old Trafford and all the rest of it. None of which happened. That was really bad the way he was treated. We go back in for him in January, by which time we are competing with Manchester United for a Champions League spot.
Mm-hmm.
We were up and running for fourth, and they would not let him come to us because they looked upon us as a major rival for the Champions League. That's how close we got to them. I remember the game at Old Trafford when we went up there, roughly that time.
Yeah.
United won 1-0, a dubious goal in injury time. The atmosphere that day was almost a bear pit. They were so, I wouldn't say frightened of us, but they were so aware that we could damage them. And their board also felt we could damage them. And when we went back in for him in January, they wouldn't let him come.
Well, I mean, they were right, weren't they, Paul? Because I mean, when you look at the outcome of the season, it was his goal against us that put them in the Europa League. And
without question, you can come up with all those stats. I mean, he came on a sub that day, didn't he? At our place.
Yep.
What a lovely goal! The sort of goal we would expect from him. Yep. And United were right; they were frightened of us. And I can't remember a time in my life when Manchester United have been frightened of us.
Yeah,
I mean, it's been nonsense, isn't it? I mean, I've lived up in Manchester for 40 years, constantly seeing them winning everything in sight. They never frightened of us. They were very, pleasant about us, but nothing like that. Jesse, if David Moyes would have got Jesse back in January, we would have won the Europa League, because he'd have played him down the left-hand side. He's an upgrade on Benrahma by quite some distance. I was looking back at the stats on this as well. There was a couple of those games. I think it was either Lyon or Frankfurt. I can't remember which one it was. Yeah. Where Benrahma was put through, I think, 3 or 4 times down the left-hand side on his own, running at goal, made a mess of all of them. Jesse wouldn't have made a mess of those chances. And that's the difference between the two players.
Okay. We've got to push on because we're up to our deadline again. But I want to come around the table and get everyone else involved quickly if I can. Paul's made the point there that he believes that if we had Jesse Lingard last season, we would have won the Europa League. So very quick, yes or no from the team. Do you agree with that one, Noam?
Yeah, I think I do. Not just for what he personally brings to the game. Obviously, he's, as Paul said, a massive upgrade on Benrahma. But also the boost he gives to the players playing around him. He brings out the best in others as well, which is a sort of a double boost. And I think with that going on, we certainly have had a lot better chance. Yeah.
All right, it's a yes from no. Pinky.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a fair point that Paul's made there. The one sort of caveat I put in there is, I think we might have won it had we not lost Bonner earlier in the season. I think that really hurt our defensive shape and our structure. But certainly one or the other, you're losing 2 top draw players out of what you had the previous year. So for me, Lingard would have made a difference. Yes. So would have Oggy. Neither of them, to finish 7th, remarkable, really.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Nick. Yes or no? Would we have won the Europa League with Lingard in the squad?
Possibly. I think there's too many caveats. You could argue we could have won the Europa League if we had a better left back than we had that didn't have 2 brain farts. So there's too many variables. Yes, we would have stood a better chance, but as I said, just too many variables. So we would have stood a better chance, and he's a very good player who I would take back tomorrow.
Okay, that's 2 yeses and a possibly to go with Paul. Rio, what do you make of this one?
I'm with Nick on this. Too many other possibilities come into the mix, but Jesse would have given us, and as Noam rightly pointed out, the rest of the squad a real boost, and he would have lifted the actual kind of morale, the ability we had at our disposal. So we would have a much better chance with him. Just wasn't to be.
Okay, Chris, final word on that one.
Painfully, I have to agree. I think the Frankfurt's biggest issue would have been, as I've been so reliably taught by my 2 young podcast friends, was kind of in that middle area, and they didn't have the ability on the ball in that middle 2, and they didn't really have the mobility off it. And there's one thing Jesse brought is he was direct through that middle, and he was tight with it and very, very efficient as well. And I think we have quite a few players who need 5 chances to get one, and he wasn't that either. He was much more efficient in front of goal. Okay. So sadly, yeah.
Yes, I mean, Nick, you and I were making that very point, weren't we, in the Valge Stadium that night about the fact that no one was driving through the middle. But anyway, Paul, thank you very much for joining us. You are, of course, up for an award yourself in a little bit. We've got the best writer, best KUMB writer award coming up in about 20 minutes' time. I think you 3 of you actually on the panel up for Chris and Noam as well. So. Yeah, a little bit of in-house rivalry coming up very soon. So
there's more rivalry because I didn't even get a bloody nomination.
well, look, to be fair,
barely write a forum post.
I think the minimum criteria, Nick, was 5 articles. I'm not sure.
I've done that in about 8 years.
This is true.
I mean, that's 5 articles this year. Not all your life.
Paul, thank you very much for joining us and giving the result of that category. For those of you who aren't aware, Paul is one of our chief writers on the site. Puts in some absolutely incredibly interesting content. Always uplifting. This is what I like about your stuff, Paul. It's always positive and looking up rather than down and being negative, which is obviously something 1 or 2 of us are charged with from time to time. So thank you for all your contributions over the years, and we look forward to many more. What was that, Pinky? I missed that.
Do you mean me?
No, I meant me actually, but if the cat fits, I guess. But Paul, thank you very much for joining us, and we'll catch up again with you soon, my friend. I'm going to pass you over to Chris now for our next. Where are we? Number 7, Chris, aren't we?
We are Hackett of the Year, and I can say that I was alive for the event and the moment that this award was named after. I was 2 years old, but you don't have a dad who supports West Ham without learning the name Keith Hackett either, because I don't think he's gotten over it yet.
It certainly hasn't explained to everyone what this is about before, because some people might not be quite aware who Keith Hackett is or was.
I do think it might be better if one of the older men who were alive and could remember the event explained.
I tell you what, why don't we ask our guest, because he certainly would. I'm not trying to suggest that Nick is as old as some of us on the stream tonight, but Nicky Hawkins from West Ham Fan TV joining us, everyone. Big round of applause for Nick.
Thank you very much, Graham. Yeah, I am certainly old enough to know who Keith Hackett is. I am certainly, yeah. I still haven't got over that, to be quite honest with you, but I don't let many things go, Graham, as you know me.
Yep. Keith Hackett, of course, was the referee in the FA Cup 1991, right? 1991
semi-final.
Against Forest, who sent Tony Gettle off in ridiculous fashion. It was a strange game because we went on to lose 4-0, but from it came that legendary rendition of Billy Bonds' Claret and Blue Army that lasted pretty much the entire second half. I'm talking too much. I've got Nick. I've got to pass over to Chris, because Chris is supposed to be presenting this award.
I'm very good at making other people do my work for me. It's one of my best skills. It's an award that has been won. I thought it was Mike Dean last year, but my favourite winner when I was doing the obvious research I've done, because this is the only thing I can name in each of these awards. I really enjoyed that Ida Johnson won this, which must have been from a transfer window where he was ferried away somewhere else. He's become a bit of a summer transfer window legend, Ida Johnson. And I'm quite
fair, it could have been one of about 10 transfer windows with Ida Johnson.
I quite enjoy that.
To stay in a hotel and while negotiations were going on, and then he buggered off somewhere else.
Tottenham, I believe.
Yeah, there was talk of the hotel being sent to him to pay. Whether or not that happened, I don't know. But
this happened every 6 months, didn't it? Every window.
Yeah.
It's my favourite one, because the pettiness involved from West Ham fans to vote for it is a real petty. It's a kind of attitude that I live my life by. Nicky, have you got it from 3 to 1? You can go from bronze to gold for me for the winners of this award.
Yeah, one sec. Let me get them back up, because I have got them. But I'm on the phone. I've been caught short. I was doing my podcast and I didn't quite make it home in time. So let me get it.
It's all right. As the talent on the podcast, you don't have to be very organised. I generally leave it to my younger friends to do all that stuff for me. So I get it. It's fine.
So in 3rd place was referee Felix Weyer, and that was sending off Aaron Cresswell versus Leon. In 2nd place was Rio Ferdinand for advising Declan Rice to Sam for Man United. Now, that would have been my first place, if I'm honest with you, because in first place was Moussa Dembele, the Lyon striker, and quite frankly, the winker. But I forgave him for that because we did have a good second leg in that game. So it would be Rio for me, who's put his foot in his mouth one too many times for me this year in terms of West Ham. But the winner is Moussa Dembele.
That's a sneaky little winker, and I'll take my time saying that one. I wish I'd not set myself up so desperately. I mean, what to what he did do was he gave us a villain for that second leg, and it's always quite nice when you've got a villain, Nick, isn't it? In there that you can really have a go at during a game, especially when it gets boringly easy to win.
I was furious, to be quite honest with you. But as I say, maybe I was a little bit different because once we started banging in the goals for fun over in Lyon, that sort of got wiped from my memory quite quickly. If we'd have gone on to lose that game, I think it would have been a bit different. But yeah, he did. He set himself up nicely, didn't we? To be fair, we haven't had an enemy like that for a long time, have we? Really, one of them guys that we just love to hate.
No, I can't. I suppose there's a few Spurs players, but that's almost kind of a natural progression. That's not really a villain as much as you play for Spurs. So that's a natural occurrence. I
think Son's doing himself no favours of late, to be honest.
I think he was pretty lucky not to be high up on that list for getting the ball kicked at his leg and nearly dying from it, if I remember correctly in that game. I don't know if there was. I think Nicky's got a point. Rio was probably, again, not our gracious member of the team. Again, it really was the only competition, I suppose, on that one.
Yeah, I mean, such a disappointment that he should start spouting rubbish like that. And I think that someone should point out to him that the Man United club that he was so gracefully espousing as perhaps the next destination for Declan Rice, consider us to be their major rivals. So why on earth should we sell someone as good as Declan Rice to them? That would be my point of view. But yeah, I mean, I think that there was a good case to be mentioned for all three of those nominations, to be honest. And I think really it's not been a vintage year for Hackett's, has it? To be honest, yeah, but wouldn't have worried me if any of those three had won it, to be honest.
Nick, I was going to say who's annoyed you most this year, but I meant specifically of a West Ham bent in that respect. Who would have been your Hackett of the year?
Zoma.
For kicking.
For kicking the cat. Yeah.
I think I might have voted the same, actually, if I think about it. It's very hard when you do something like that to remember. And you feel like you shouldn't really be voting for a West Ham player, but I don't want to be the man to disagree with that one either. Really.
I mean, I don't like cruelty to animals. And it wasn't just that. It was just that we were riding on the crest of a wave with, our European performances and stuff, and riding high in the league. And in typical West Ham fashion, something from right out of the blue comes along that just drags it through the mud. And it's like we're not allowed to have anything nice without it going wrong. And that's kind of it. And if he just kept his feet to himself, or dare I even say it, not being a bit of an idiot and found it and decided to stick it up on TikTok or whatever. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not condoning what he did at all. But if he hadn't, that's the thing that I just don't compute in my head. That why would you film that and stick it on the internet thinking it's funny? And that was kind of, that was aggravating circumstances of an aggravating circumstance. So he's clear. Yeah, he's got my Hackett of the year.
It's hard to disagree. The next step, I think it was to impress a girl that his brother was going on a date on, which was I've never been very good with women, but I'm not sure that was always been my first port of call was I'll beat an animal to see what she thinks.
Do you want to come round and kick the cat?
I think there's probably
no. That's not. That's not what I meant when I said.
Yeah, I was thinking there's a euphemism that's been lost in translation there, maybe for the French. I'm unsure. Nicky, before we sent you on, you said you were the podcast. When's that out? I should point people that way.
The podcast comes out. It normally comes out on Wednesday, but we've had to film it a day later today, so it'll be out tomorrow. So yeah, I'll get it back and I'll edit it all, and it'll all be up tomorrow. But if you want to join us for anything, there's always a transfer day. I see you had a writers' award coming up.
Next.
So the Writers Award is next. Listen, I got to start from writing for Graham. Graham, I tell you, I used to write for KUMB. That's where my my sort of internet career started, really, over on KUMB. So yeah, good luck to everyone.
And look at you now, you're back here with us.
It's all Graham's fault.
It's all Graham's.
It's all Graham's fault. Exactly. If you want to blame anyone, if you want to see one of my ridiculous takes on West Ham United, always blame Graham, because he got me started in this game.
That'll be the podcast. It's got to be edited tonight, and as far as I've been told by my friends, the editing's the easy part, and then Jack may try and tell me different, and I'll never let him argue that. But thank you for joining us. We should move on to KUMB Writer of the Year. I mean, you could be doing this. You've teed it up perfectly, and I should move back to Graham, who gets his chance to speak again.
Cheers, Nick. Thanks for joining us. Before you go, Nick, how long has West Ham Fan TV been running now? You must be getting on for 10 years now, isn't it?
7 years.
7 years.
7 years, yeah.
Well, look, I mean, anyone who's watching the stream who doesn't know who Nick is, and there can't be many of you there, but Nick will almost certainly always be outside at a stadium, home, away, domestically or abroad even, because we bumped into each other in Seville, didn't we, Nick?
Yeah. Of course, yeah.
When you was with Ryan. But go and say hello to Nicky and the boys. I think someone wants Nick. Nick, you wanted. I think you're... Tapping furiously on the window. You're not getting carjacked, are you? Or something like that?
It's my son who's walking past.
Okay, all right, buddy. Well, we'll let you go. Nick, thanks very much for joining us, and best of luck with West Ham Fan TV. Keep up the good work, mate. We'll see you again
Thank you very much.
Cheers, buddy. Yes, moving on to award number. Where are we, Chris?
Number 8.
We're 6 minutes behind schedule now. This is
Jack's fault.
We better crack on. I'm going to get our next guest on, who's coming on right now. This is, as I said, this is one. There's some vested interest in this particular award on the stream tonight, because we have 3 people who are up for it in Noam and Paul and Chris himself, to let us know who has won this particular award. Is a friend of the show, friend of KUMB's, and an all-round good egg, quite frankly. It's John Ratomski of the Irons Supporting Food Banks team. John, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you again.
Yeah, right. I'm all good, thanks. Thanks very much for asking me to come on.
Oh, it's a pleasure, mate. Before we crack on with our award, and we're offering all our guests the opportunity to plug what they're doing. Of course, you're doing some very important work in the local community, and not just the local community, but everywhere now. I mean, you have a shed full of what was it, shoes at the moment? You've got, I can't remember now. You seem to have so much stuff coming in from Umbro and other people like you for
we're trying to shift it as much as we can. I've got 3 carloads sitting in someone's garage in Isleworth right now, which needs moving around. Then I've got something like 30 cases of fleeces, new fleeces that were donated to us from Arriva, transported in Crowe. And today I've just picked up 1,900 cans of lemonade from Crowe YMCA, which are being distributed throughout Northwest, and heading down to East London sometime next month. So it's ongoing, even though there's no football on. We're just coming across new sources, new contacts who were saying, look, we've got this surplus. And it's allowed us to, to work outside of West Ham as well. Obviously, I'm 200 miles away, but we have a good relationship with the Everton and Liverpool guys, the 2 Manchester clubs, and now Tranmere Rovers, who do a lot in the community. And I've been in touch with Mark Palios, and we've sent him a load of sports gear, as we're doing in East London as well. So we're just moving it around as best we can.
Well, keep up the good work, mate. You're doing some absolutely fantastic work there in various communities, not just the local community. But before we get on to the award, tell people how they can get involved. How can they help out? How can they support the organisation?
Well, we've got a Just Giving page with a link on our website, ironsfoodbanks.co.uk, and we've got the support of a few of you guys as well. Obviously, Russ mentioned earlier that he'll be doing a fundraiser next week. We're due to get a signed Fabianski match-worn shirt for raffling, and a few other bits and bobs that the club kindly donates to us. So, the funding is always important to us. But at the moment, we're sort of buying probably about a pallet load of food every week that we distribute now. Now we're working with 20 food banks in in London, and Darren Rodwell from Dagenham and Barking has asked for a meeting to see what we can do in his territory. So we've already supplied a pallet into Redbridge, another one into Dagenham, and we're getting new approaches quite regularly now. So we're just trying to structure it a bit better. But the demand is there, and as we know from the daily press, it's not going to get any better. And as well as the food, we can supplement that now with clothes, and so that's the way it's moving. And this is on the back of really our first full season that we've had since last August. Yeah. So we really have moved on, and obviously your help as well. You were there shaking buckets with us, in the early days, and it's always appreciated. You've been around this season, so has Noam. Doc Ball's been around to give us his good wishes and encouragement, and a lot of the KUMB community, will come past and make a donation and have a chat, and it's great to see, the faces behind the names.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, it's the whole West Ham community. Everyone has got involved. It's been quite heartwarming to see. A lot of people. Big George, of course, another KUMB member who's often out there rattling cans. David Sullivan, just very quickly, gets a pretty bad press, but I think it's only fair to point out he's helped you as well quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I can't knock him. I mean, when we went into the first lockdown in March a couple of years ago, I approached him and said, look, we can't collect anymore. There's no more fans. We were getting £700 worth of food and cash each game. And he basically said, okay, I'll cover you for those last 5 games when there were no fans. So he donated £3,500. Then Declan donated, Mark Noble donated the fees from his articles in the Recorder at the time, and really over the 2 years, I would say David Sullivan's given the best part of 70 grand of his own money out of his back pocket to us, and also to Newham Food Bank.
Well, there you go. Huge credit.
Fair enough, fair play.
Yeah, in as far as that goes, to our co-chairman, John, we're going to move on to the award because we are running a few minutes behind schedule.
Yeah, okay.
You are going to tell it. Oh, this is they can't wait for this one. Look, they're hooks. Best KUMB Writer Award. This was, of course, a new award that we introduced last year. Someone called Preview Percy, who may or may not be in the room tonight, was our inaugural winner.
I think we've pretty much abandoned that fiction now, haven't we?
Well, can he do it again? We're about to find out. John, can we have the top 3 in reverse order with the scores, please?
Here we go. Well, no gold envelope, but I found a little bit of wrapping paper that should do. So here we go. Third place with 18% of the votes, we've got Jack Elderton. Well done, Jack. And in second place, 33% of the votes, Preview Percy.
Hey.
So that leaves us with number 1 there, with 40% of the votes. Our man on the screen there, Mr. Paul Walker. Well done, Paul.
Hey. Quite right too. Should have been last year as well.
This is a bit of a first because we can have an acceptance speech now because our winner's on the stream. Paul, you weren't expecting this, of course, because you didn't know anything about it. But congratulations, mate! You are the KUMB.com Writer of the Year, as voted for by your own readers.
Well, I'd like to thank my parents and my wife, and family, and all my friends who voted, and the one reader who voted for me. But, in a more serious point, it's a privilege to write for West Ham fans. As you know, Graham, 50 years of messing about with various stages of the media. It's been a job. Writing for KUMB is demanding, and it's hard work, because the people I'm writing for know more about it than I do. And if I make a mistake, any tiny error, I know about it. If I come up with an opinion they don't like, I know about it. And that makes what I'm writing quite hard to do in some respects, because I'm not trying to appease people, but I'm determined to get it right, because it comes back on you if it's not right. We've had this discussion before. It's a privilege to write for West Ham fans. I've been supporting this club, been going to West Ham since 1958. I think I know West Ham fans quite well. I've spent a lot of time with them, and I really enjoy writing for them.
Okay, excellent. Well done, Paul. Congratulations. I've just got to say that I think you, all three of you, and of course Jack and Callum, who were up for this award as well. I don't think you'd have to be a West Ham supporter to enjoy the content you produce. It's absolutely fantastic. Chris, your match reports have been consistently entertaining. Preview Percy, who may or may not be in the room, of course, has kept us.
You'd have to be mad to enjoy that. Let's be honest.
Graham, can I actually say that I actually voted for Jack? I'm an old school journalist. Statistics don't mean a great deal, and I think that they can be manipulated to prove almost anything you want.
Yeah.
But Jack's contribution and the analysis he comes up with has opened my eyes to what is available. I think he's been absolutely outstanding, and the fact that he and I have an absolute joy that Wales have qualified for the World Cup is pretty impressive. I mean, I think he's been fantastic.
John, right. You're not too far from the border. I guess you'll be pretty happy too, or at least some people around your part of the world. Sorry, John, that was for you.
Oh, sorry, yeah, John.
Oh, for me?
Yeah, I'm saying you're not too far from the Welsh border, right? Are
well,
you
no,
awake there,
fact,
Mr. Ratomski?
I tell you, mate, 14th of July, I'm off to see Newtown play, is it Tórshavn from Faroe Islands in the what is it, the conference qualifiers. So you got that one in the diary.
That'll be one to look forward to. We hopefully, well, maybe you can give us a match report and tell us what happened.
Well, a bit of early scouting, yeah.
Yeah. John Ratomski from Iron Supporting Food Banks. It's been a pleasure having you on. So thank you for coming on. And as I say, on behalf of everybody at KUMB and the West Ham community, keep up the good work. No one wants to come in very quickly.
Yeah, no. Just before John goes, do you want to tell us exactly when and how one can attend the fundraiser that's coming up?
I think that'll be on Russ's channel. It's normally on a Thursday night, around about 9 o'clock that he runs it. So it's just more info from Russ. But he's done them through last summer as well, through the close season. So it's really helpful. It all adds to the kitty, and it allows us to to support the area with whatever. We buy our pallets now from his church. And for £400, they give us up to £2,000 worth of food every time. Wow. So, it's a great arrangement. And I think, we've probably got about 15 pallets out so far this season. And that, and then there's the direct funds that go to Newham Food Bank too. So collectively, everybody's come together, and it's great to get the support from the West Ham fan community. Thanks, guys.
Excellent. Well, John, thank you, as I said, for coming on and lending your support to tonight's awards. Mr. John Ratomski, everyone, Iron Supporting Food Banks, get involved, follow him on Twitter. And if you see one of the guys on the bridge by the Aquatic Centre before a home game, go and say hello, go and drop a bit of spare change in the bins, or take some cans, some tins, whatever you can do to help, because the guys there, led by John, are doing an absolutely fantastic job making things a little bit easier for people. Thank you, John. Thanks for coming on.
Cheers, great. Thanks, guys.
Next up, I'm going to hand back over to Chris then. Now this is getting exciting. I like this one. Most memorable moment, Chris.
I've just got to try and brush myself down, not be too disappointed, it's a bit of a rejection, but what? I think I'd have to choose between my two surrogate children, so I chose Paul to be the winner anyway, because I didn't want to have to vote for either of the lads. So it makes me feel a bit better. We are joined by, you call it the man, the myth, the legend, I suppose. Gonzo from Hammer's Chat. I think your audio's connected just in time for me to have teed you up perfectly.
There we go. I was wondering if I'd made it.
Nice. You're never too late, never too early. We're cracking on in. Well, we're going all right. It's only 8 minutes behind. I think that could have been a lot worse. Most memorable moment of the year award. I mean, only the third year for this category. It's been won by qualifying for Europe on the last day of the season. I think the year before that was Alvin and David Martin's embrace at the end of the Chelsea game, which is a very specific type of quite an emotional one. I mean, it's been a hell of a year for moments, Chris, there. You could probably pick one of what feels like 30 or 50 the way we've been playing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we're going to continue the touchy-feely vibe that was clearly, well, as you eloquently put it there, that lovely father-son embrace from the Martin family. But there's To be fair, it's quite a nice way to go. I think it's quite a ruthless, money-driven game now. So I think there's a little bit of room left for sentiment. Certainly. Are you ready for me to disclose the secret ballot?
I'm as ready as I'll ever be, I suppose, with an award of this magnitude. If you could go down from third to first for me, that would be perfect.
Well, probably unsurprisingly, and there were a few tearjerkers here. In number 3 was Andrei Yarmolenko's goal celebration against Sevilla, which yielded 21%, a pivotal goal at a pivotal time in what was, well, just completely terrible circumstances for the player himself, and just a really well-timed goal as far as we were concerned in our biggest match for quite some time.
It's been a big. I've completely, my audio's cut then, and I've heard none of that. I mean, it looked very good, but I absolutely know of it. So I'll have to, Graham, you're gonna have to cover for me professionally.
Well, what I said was, it was when David Moyes shouted Ben Rama, and Ben Rama shouted back at him. That was it wasn't. It wasn't. It was Yarmolenko. If you could hear me now, it was Yarmolenko's goal against Sevilla. But did anybody else hear? Did everybody else hear that?
We did, mate. Yeah, we did. Carry on.
I'm in the fens, so things can just go wrong. The internet's just reached here.
Well, to be fair, you've got a football crowd behind you, so it's probably quite loud where you are to hear anything really. Number 2, I said tearjerker. This is a proper tearjerker. Actually, it's Mark Noble's tears. At the final game, there were a lot of tears from Mark in the build-up of this game. Every interview, and certainly when he was at the Hammer of the Year Awards, there were tears there. You could totally understand it. And wow, what an exceptional career! I think on any other year, he wins this as the memorable moment. That polled at 23%.
Wow. I mean, I would have picked that quite comfortably, assuming that was going to win. What have we got then? Who's taken the gold?
Well, he's taken gold and bronze, actually. And it's Andrei Yarmolenko's goal celebration against Aston Villa. And I think, as that's at 29%, if I've got this right, that was before the Sevilla game. So I think when you look at it from the political point of view and everything that was happening in his home country, I think there was sort of this outpouring of sort of national sentiment and support for him, and there just seemed to be this exhalation after he did it, and he, almost sort of slumped, didn't he? And I think it was the way his teammates all sort of rallied round him and cuddled him, and you just felt that not only his teammates, everybody, the crowd, even the Aston Villa fans, everybody got it. I'm not saying the Aston Villa fans were delighted with the goal. They'd spent most of that game diving, if I remember correctly, but it was a really sentimental moment.
It was one of those you could kind of feel a reaction to within the stadium as well, which is quite. They happen every so often. You get one every few years where you that kind of collective, I don't know, emotion of it. You become more than the majority angry people just screaming abuse onto a football pitch. You suddenly quite a warmth to it. I mean, Pinky, it's in a hell of a year. Could you argue with that one?
No, not really. I mean, you think about what we ask professional players to do: perform at the highest level to the highest standard in an incredibly tense atmosphere. And you're doing that at a time when your wife and child are at home in a country that's been invaded by the Russians, and you're having to perform as a professional sports person to come on, score goals, particularly when you're a player that's not played all that much, to actually hit all the right notes. Fabulous stuff. Fabulous.
Yeah. And I'm just checking the time-wise. It's been a unique year, I suppose, in that respect for players like him, and we've seen it with Zinchenko across at City as well. What are your summer plans for West Ham? West Ham chat, Hammers chat across the summer. Are you keeping lots of content going? Or are you giving yourself a deserved break, Chris?
A little bit of both. We try and we try and keep the wheels turning, but I need to get away with the kids, certainly. But funny enough, my son, he was even bugging me today saying, you know, if you've got the season ticket, is the season ticket sorted, really? We watched the England game delayed, so we only watched the England game today, and he gave
God, save that treat.
I know, I didn't know, honestly. Somehow I managed to avoid the result. So we watched. That was a lovely family sentimental moment. That was a tearjerker, I can tell you. So we watched that, and he was saying, he said, well, I think England are rubbish. I'm really looking forward to getting back and watching West Ham. It feels like such a short window.
Oh, it's insane, isn't it?
On this one, and I don't know about you. Much as I like going to the football and following it, actually, I could do with the break to get stuff done around the house, and actually those weekends when I say no to everybody, you're having to say sort of yes to now. So yeah, get things out of the way and get ready. And obviously I've been so busy reporting on all our signings every day that there's always, you know, there's always players to announce. That keeps us busy, you know.
I suppose at least you had January off in that respect. It's fine. I think the summer for me, it's a chance for my heart to rest. I can't handle 2 games a week. It's close to the hospital, I think, the way I get affected by those. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for announcing that award. Lovely to see you. I should move us on whilst I can to most memorable match. Thank you for coming along, Chris.
Thank you, Chris and Chris. Hammers Chat, Chris. Before we go, some of our regulars may not be aware. I don't quite know how, if they go to the Olympic Stadium on a regular basis. But tell us about the Hammers Chat boat and how people can get involved.
Well, we don't really run it. But what happened was they were the old boats from the Olympics, basically. So I think there was some sort of pomp and ceremony to it, and these boats used to ferry a lot of the athletes, basically, I don't know, a few hundred yards to the sort of entrance to the stadium. And then what happened was, when that was discontinued, when it finished and they were dealing with the legacy of the stadium, a private company bought up the boats. They would run it as a sort of charter to do trips around the Olympic Stadium. That wasn't quite yielding enough revenue for them to keep the business going. And funny enough, we approached them initially to hire it for one game, just to do one trip around the stadium, get drunk, and that was it. And they said, is there any way you can you do this every home match, basically? So what we do now is, I mean, they run it, they put it all on, and all we do is, because of the sort of legalities of the surrounding area, I don't know if it's still the case, possibly not, you had to, any licensed premises, you had to be able to count the footfall in and out. So we said, okay, people that are members of Hammers Chat or subscribers or whatever, so we have a limited space. They're boat bars before every game, after every game that's not a late evening kickoff. Go down there, it's right by the big screens outside the stadium. Have a few drinks, we have a barbecue. Really, really safe environment. Lovely sort of, it's West Ham, don't get me wrong, everyone will have a sing song and all that sort of thing. As well as John's been down several times. But also, it's a great place to take your kids. I always take my kids there without any trouble at all. So there's sort of security on the gates. Not that it's ever been needed. So yeah, just a lovely place to have a drink before the game, without the sort of hustle and bustle of having to deal with the bars in Westfield, I guess. But yeah, thank you for allowing me to plug that.
No, it's a pleasure. Thank you for giving us your time and coming on and doing this. I mean, this is not just a celebration of West Ham's last 12 months and in some sense our first 25 years. I say that like there's going to be another one, but also of the whole West Ham fan community, of course. That's something you're very, very much a part of. How long has Hammers Chat been running now?
The videos, 7 years.
7 years.
Yeah,
Nick, I said, well, we were just saying to Nick from West Ham Fan TV, we asked him the same question. He said 7 years. So I'm trying to think back to what happened 7 years ago to create this huge outburst of creativity amongst the fan base. There must have been a catalyst at some point. I'm not quite sure what it was, but whatever it was, mate, keep up the good work and keep cracking on with the wonderful content that you put out. Where can people find you on YouTube? Is there, what's the name of the channel again?
Just stick Hammers Chat into YouTube. You can find us there. We're quite annoying at the moment because there's nothing to talk about, but we're still talking, which is sort of what we that's sort of what we do. But it's generally actually, that's a bit too fair. I got quite depressed today. I got hit by a number of bad stories. West Ham. I got all doom and gloom today. But generally, we will try and keep it a little bit upbeat. But the old Newcastle coming in and stealing a defender off of us that I'm not sure we even wanted in the first place is probably a little bit much even for me. But I thank you very much, Graham. Love knees up, Mother Brown, mate. You started it all, so fair play to you, my friend, and you've been an absolute gent to me. You really have.
Well, it's been a pleasure. Without giving you a virtual hug and kiss, it's been a pleasure to get to know you over the years, and thank you for being part of it.
How much did he pay you for that last bit?
Memorable moment.
Can I just point out that I'm not waving at anyone in particular. There's a rather there it is again. There's a fly that keeps buzzing around my head, and I'm trying to wave it off. I have actually got one of these, but I can't catch the bugger, and it'd look a bit silly if I start slapping the screen with this. So I do apologise. Chris from Amsterdam, Gonzo, thanks for coming on, buddy. Take care and keep up the good work. We'll catch you again very, very soon.
Thanks, guys. See you soon. Take care.
Bye-bye. See you later,
bye.
Look, I've also got to apologise to the rest of my team because we've not had you in an awful lot. We're down to our final guest of the evening now. So after this, we're going to get you all involved a little bit more than we've been able to do so far. We're 10 minutes behind. Chris, that's not bad, is it? We're only 10 minutes, behind schedule, which is pretty good.
Actually early. As far as I'm concerned. We've still got Best Lincolnshire Fly of the Year award to do, haven't we, as well?
Fantastic. Yeah, we have. We'll be doing that one very soon. Where are we now? We are looking down our list. We are looking at. We've only got 4 more to go. 4 more to go. Is it 4 or 3? 4 more to go. 4 more categories to go. Someone who knows all about the KUMB.com awards and individual categories is joining us right now. You will probably recognise this face if you've ever watched the KUMB Awards in the past, or you're one of those who doesn't go to the bar at halftime at the London Olympic Stadium. It is a friend of the show, our good friend. It's our former KUMB podcast impresario, I suppose you could say, and all-round good egg, Mr. Chris Skull. Chris, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you.
Thanks. Good. Thanks for having me on, Graham. Good to be here. Look at all these other moderators. Is it just carnage on the forum right now? Swearing.
That's what's going to happen. There's no one there.
It's not carnage anymore because we're not on there. We're here.
Yeah, it's like you know when the Queen dies and there's those few seconds before they inaugurate the new head of state that there's lawlessness exists. It's a bit like that at the moment.
It's the West Ham equivalent of the Purge.
Yeah. Well, Prince Harry and Prince William can't be on the same plane. So there's you've got the continuation of the monarchy. In that same respect, you should all be here as moderators having a chat. Someone should be working.
Well, it's true. We have left a couple back as it goes. We wouldn't let them on. So it's it's in good hands anyway, hopefully. But Chris, of course, you presented a couple of KUMB awards back in the day. Was it 2014 and 2015? We did the cow. I remember one particularly fraught event when we got there and we didn't have any microphones, and you sent me up the road to try and get some new leads. Me and Noam, if I recall correctly.
And then you came back with them. You actually pulled it off, didn't you? We somehow did it.
We did. Everything was shut, but we begged, borrowed, and stealed to get it on. And good night. So who did we have on back then?
Oh, but there was one with Frank McAvenny and Martin Allen. It was great. There was another with Marlon and Anton. Wasn't there another one with Jimmy Walker and Rufus Brevitt?
Jimmy and Rufus. Jimmy and Rufus.
And last year I did the real West Ham Awards. So I started. So in 5 years' time, many of you guys might well be hosting the real life player awards. That's how it works.
I don't think so.
What price are you offering on that, Chris?
Well, look, I often look back at those days, and I think of Chris now working for West Ham, doing the match day presenting role, and of course his sidekick at the time, James Longman, is winning Oscars in Hollywood, and I'm still working out of a shed in deepest, darkest Lincolnshire. So one of us didn't quite get it right, did we? But
are they happy, Graham?
Well, of course. Yeah. Chris, you've done plenty of half-time interviews since joining the match day team there at West Ham. is there any that particularly stand out for good and possibly even more interestingly for bad reasons?
I don't know if anyone saw, there was one, it was the European night. I thought it might have been the Lyon game. So we won, were we 1-0 down at half time? Cresswell red card, or it was 0-0 when we're down 10 men.
Yeah.
And we had Jeff Hurst and Brian Deere on, and we were on the touchline. And I don't know if anyone saw this, the sprinklers went off behind us and started soaking a Night of the Realm. He was cool as a cucumber, just happy, just carried on chatting like nothing happened. Brian Deere legged it.
Yeah.
And then while this is happening, like, so Brian Deere just legs it. We're in the middle of an interview, and the floor manager's behind us going, "You're just going to have to like shimmy, like do the interview." And we're shimmying down. I'm like, "This is the Jeff Hurst. He's a Knight of the Realm. He won a European trophy for West Ham. What is happening here?" We had a quiet word with the groundsman after that and said, "Can you just let us know if you're going to really?"
I mean, you when you were working for KUMB, running the podcast here, you met some legendary ex-footballers. Is there anyone that you've met and you've kind of been so overawed by that it's been really difficult to interview them?
Not overawed, but I remember the first time when I first started hanging out with Colton and interviewing Colton, I was like, if this guy doesn't become a top pundit, I will be amazed. Like he just has it. The thing about Colton when he talks is he's so natural, and like a lot of the old pros and the old pundits give like, it's just the bullshit. You ask a question, they just know how to give like a nothing answer. But Carlton will tell you what he really thinks. I think that's what makes him such a good pundit. It's why TalkSport snapped him up. It's why he's on Match of the Day, why he's on Question of Sport. He is that guy. So like, when you chat to Colton, you interview Colton, you actually have to listen to the answer because he will say something interesting that you need to react to. So he's a really unique guy to speak to and to interview. I thought you were going to ask me what was the lowest point of doing KMB. And that's
well, we would be all right, wouldn't we? I think.
Do you remember doing the Billy Bonds interview? We got Billy Bonds on.
I was just going to mention this. I was just going to bring this up.
Oh my God. This is the lowest moment of my entire broadcasting career, if you can call it that. And it happened right at the start. It was the biggest guest we'd ever had at that point. We'd only been doing it about 6 months or so. We got hold of Billy Bonds. He agreed to come on. He agreed to do an interview. And we were like, we have to ask about how he left and the Harry Redknapp stuff. Like, but we're just kind of in fear of him because he's Billy Bonds. Like, it's terrifying. And you idolize him. And we touched on it a little bit. We asked not even a leading question, and he just launched into Harry Redknapp. He told us all this stuff that he'd never said it, never heard it. And we were like, this is going to be on the back pages of the papers when it comes out. And then we finished the interview. Thank you so much, Billy. I think we had meant to have an hour. We ended up having 90 minutes with him. We went round to the computer and found out the recording had dropped out halfway through and we'd lost it all. And we were all like, you were so calm. You were just like, never mind. And I was like, we've just lost the biggest scoop of our lives. Like, I don't think will ever happen again. And next day, James, my mate, rang him up and Billy said, "Oh, don't worry, I'll do it again." And he did the exact interview. He said everything he'd said again for us. And that's the podcast that went out, and it still made the papers. It was
exactly as I was going to say. It was all splashed over the mirror, wasn't it? The following day, and I mean, you did some great interviews at the time. Though the Sullivan interview was an excellent one. I particularly enjoyed the Marlon Harewood and Dean Ashton reunion, which was another good one.
Yeah, that was good. I don't like the Sullivan one. I don't think we did a good job. I don't think I was ready for it because you needed to be. I needed to be Paxman, and I was just so glad that he was on there doing it. That actually didn't grill him enough. And when I listened to it back, I was like, I just missed opportunities so like some of the Charlie Austin stuff that he said, I missed in the room, and I regret that. But that wouldn't happen now. But it's just you read Outliers, like you need to be doing something for 10,000 hours before you realize you're good at it, and that just wasn't a good enough interview at that point. But now having to go like quickly,
I think you do yourself a bit of an injustice there, because I think you did a great job, and it was fantastic. And of course, you had most of us Muppets on as well at some point when there was gaps to fill, wasn't there?
Yeah, exactly. Everyone was some great chat, and it was so good to get fans on and just create a show that a West Ham fan wanted to hear. We were so proud of everything we did with that.
Could I just chip in here for a second? I mean, apart from the fact I think I was the first guest and it still survived. I think the highlight, and in amongst all that stuff, and the Bond stuff was fantastic. But I think the highlight was the sort of program you put together on the anniversary of Bobby Moore.
Yeah.
where
I mean, that was one of the first ones, wasn't it, Chris? It was,
it was
a
very early on,
broadcast.
and that was just such a fantastic bit of work. But the other thing was just talking Billy Bonds. I actually bumped into him. He lives sort of about a mile over there, sort of thing, and he was on the train the other week, and I spotted him. I wasn't going to bother him, but as he gets off the stop just before mine, and he got up, and as he walked past, I just said, "All right, Bill," and he recognised me, and sort of greeted me like a long lost friend, and asked me how I was and everything, and it was hey,
nice. Top
which
man.
I thought
Top
was
man
a
is Bill.
touch, so.
He's a nice
But but the Bobby Moore stuff was I just remember that. I mean, every now and then I think we dig it up, don't we? We sort of put it around, and if you haven't heard it, I'm sure it's available out there somewhere.
Well, it's still all the podcasts are still available on the website. If you go to the podcast link, we've got every single podcast that Chris and James did before the new team came on. I should introduce you actually, Chris. Meet Chris. We've got the new podcast host and the old podcast host. But Chris S. I don't know if you've had the opportunity to listen to any of the new ones. Putting you on the spot now.
No, I haven't actually. I'm too busy listening to my own podcast.
Over and over.
I just only listen to the old KUMB, but we're like hearing about us moaning about Sam Allardyce in 2014.
Yes.
Eventually, I'll listen to the new ones.
All right, buddy. Well, look, let's. I suppose we better crack on because we want to get everyone else involved as well. Everyone else is falling asleep out there, but. Most memorable match we're on, aren't we? We thought we'd give this one to you, Chris, because obviously you're involved at all those games now. So should we start in reverse order as is traditional and begin with number 3?
Do I announce them?
Yes, please.
Oh, is it just what I think?
No, I have sent these to you, haven't I?
I mean,
did you say you'd hosted some of these award shows before?
Look at,
did you just give out your opinions for the awards when you hosted them? Did you think it was just your award night? And my award for my player of the year is.
All right, good. I can see them now. All right.
Hey. Jeremy Nicholas was good, wasn't he? I liked him.
Oh man. I'm going to announce them, but I'm happy to say I do agree with all of this.
Okay.
So third place, West Ham 3, Liverpool 2. That's 10% of the audience who agree with that. Yeah, that was all right. It just kind of gets lost in the shuffle a bit, that game, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's such an eventful season. You kind of forget with Liverpool. And there's in second place, West Ham 2, Seville 0. That was great. I mean, most seasons that would be the best game by a country mile.
But I think most of these would. I think if you look at these, and even I mean, you've got games like the victory against Chelsea didn't even make the top 3.
You're right, and this is the thing about the Moyes era. Do you remember, like under Big Sam, we beat City once at home? I think it was like a lunchtime kick, and that at the time I thought this is one of the greatest days of my life. If that happened now, like it's a memory under Moyes. We win so often that those memories, there's just too many of them to really you can take in. But in first place, obviously, I'd say the greatest away game of my lifetime: Lyon 0, West Ham 3.
Oh, yeah.
People go on about Metz, but Metz was only good because we were so shit in the first leg, and like nothing comes close to this as an away game, I don't think. And I could have been there, but my wife decided to have a baby right in the middle of this Europa League run.
How incredibly selfish.
Unbelievably selfish.
Well, that's just bad planning. I'm sorry, but I'm not having it.
I can't
organise, births, weddings, things like that. You've only got yourself to blame there. So no, not forgiven. Not forgiven.
Absolutely. Milk from a different milkman next time, then, Chris.
Pinky, of course. Pinky, you were there in Lyon. Is this an obvious winner for you?
Absolutely, and said to the group of friends of mine at the time, the greatest night of my life. No question. Because it's the highest level at which I've seen West Ham United win, actually in the flesh, against a pretty good Lyon team. I mean, 2 years previously, they were semi-finalists in the Champions League. They were not mugs. That was a good Lyon team, and we absolutely pumped them 3-0 on their own backyard. Had the joy of watching their supporters smashing up their own ground, all of that. I love all that. Yeah, you know, the visiting fan. You know, and to be fair, the whole trip actually changed my perception of France and French people because I thought they were incredibly friendly. It's quite a decent spot, actually, France. It's all right. You know, it's normally I find the food a bit dodgy and things like that, but it's okay. But the game itself, superb, great night. And if you can say that in a season where we've beaten Man City in the League Cup, done Chelsea, I'm telling you, wins against Liverpool, we don't get many.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a bit of a clue.
Palermo, can I just ask one depressing question that really troubles me? Is that Lyon and Seville, like they were better than Frankfurt and Rangers. Like this is the shine for me is taken a little bit off the Lyon game because we ended up blowing it. And like now I'm still a bit depressed about this. And like actually as my feelings of this season are what a missed opportunity. Like it was a 2006 FA Cup final. It was sized missed opportunity, and that probably won't happen again for quite some time. And I can't think about the Lyon. So my question is, can you move past what happened after the Lyon game and enjoy the Lyon game for what it was?
Yeah, I can, because you know, I mean, obviously we're all there in Frankfurt as well, and I had different pleasures. You know, personally, I think we lost that game in the first leg at home. You know, we made it very difficult for ourselves. But the walk in the woods, you get off the train and you're doing a forced march through a dark forest, and it's insert your own great escape gags. I mean, honestly, you couldn't make it up. And we had so much fun just going from the train station to the ground, fully segregated. Then you get to the ground and you find that all the fans can mingle in amongst each other again. It's quite bizarre. But I have to say, cracking atmosphere there in Frankfurt as well. Yeah, we blew it. I think, if I'm being honest, I think the players froze. I think the occasion may have got to them, and just pick up the point that Paul made earlier about the difference a player like Jesse Lingard would have made, who's actually been used to playing at that kind of level of competition.
Yeah.
That's the difference. Whereas we had too many of our lads who are good players, have served us really well, that on the night, on the big occasion, rabbits in the headlights, because Eintracht Frankfurt weren't the best team in that competition. By the time we'd got to that stage of the competition, West Ham United were the best team in that competition.
Yeah.
And we should have won it. But we didn't. We should have a song about this. I don't know. Maybe.
All right. Good stuff. Well, look, we're going to move on because we're rapidly running behind time. I know Chris has got other things to do. He's got nappies
Love
to change,
Island.
Chris. And
my missus is waiting for Love Island.
One final question for Chris.
Stay on then in that case. Stick with us. Chris, it's been an absolute pleasure having you.
Can I just ask
one
one final question?
Go on, please.
Chris. I think I speak for everyone and say we all miss this. When's Beat the Batak coming back?
Right, that's it. I'm off. You know what? I used to joke when I was doing Beat the Batak. I was like, when it gets to the end of the season, I'm slinging this in the canal. I'm going to wheel it out after the last game and personally throw it in the canal. But I don't know what happened to it. Hopefully they've buried it somewhere.
We used to sit there and watch, and I used to think, Chris, it's come to this.
Shocking.
There you go.
Shocking.
There you go.
Anyway,
Chris, it's been a pleasure.
Thanks for having me on.
Pleasure having you
Cheers,
back on
Chris.
again. Go and say hello. If you see Chris at the stadium, our match day announcer these days doing his business down at West Ham. Have they given you a contract for next year, Chris? I presume it's a rolling.
Yeah, apparently I've been getting the call up. I'm still in the squad.
Happy days.
I'll survive
Happy days.
another year.
All right, buddy. Well, listen, keep up the good work. It's lovely to see you again. Take care and look after that lovely family of yours. We'll see you again soon. Cheers, buddy. Chris Cole, formerly of the KUMB podcast, the current West Ham Matchday announcer, bringing us the winner of the most memorable match award, West Ham United. Stunning 3-0 win in Leon Rio. Did you give us a chance for that game before, after we'd drawn that first leg and Cresswell got sent off and all that?
I actually did. I know Leon had a really good calibre, obviously being in the Champions League later stages a couple of years previously.
Yeah.
But we've got such a never say die attitude about our entire squad. I thought it was possible. Yeah, I thought it'd be unlikely, but I was never not believing. And to do what we did out there was just absolutely amazing, wasn't it?
It was exceptional stuff. And then of course, Nick, it all went wrong in Frankfurt, didn't it?
A little bit. Yeah,
understatement of the year.
You're right. We were like rabbits in headlights, and you know what? The thing that doesn't really get mentioned because he did so blooming well. He's done so very well for us. Is just how Moyes actually got it wrong.
Yeah,
over the both legs as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think where we were sitting, you could quite clearly see we had nobody driving in midfield. There was that bit on the left as well that was clear as day that the Germans were exploiting. They done it for their first goal, for their goal in the home leg. It happened for their goal in the second leg, which is, we can see that as supporters, and it's kind of baffling that our manager didn't see it. And I think as he's done 1,000 Premier League games in his career, but he's not done too many Europeans. Yeah. And I think, and it may sound ridiculous saying it about 1,000 game PL manager, that his lack of European experience showed there. So apart from the squad and the players, I think the Europa League run was a good learning curve. And we not to forget, you're saying we're not likely to do something like that again for quite some time. You've got to remember we're still in a European competition next season.
We certainly are.
And although it's not the Europa League, it's still a European trophy. Look at how pleased the Roman supporters and players were that they won it, and it could be a trophy next season. And hopefully we've learned from the mistakes that we made. But that Lyon game, doing the eyes up with you and Rio, it was just one of those games that was kind of unbelievable. You just couldn't believe what was happening. It must, and somebody like Pinky being out there, it must have been absolutely fantastic. Probably. Yep. I would imagine even the fans in the stand couldn't believe what they were seeing, because we couldn't believe it sitting here behind our screens. So,
well, I mean, of course, I've just been reminded by DJ Russ, who was with us earlier from the West Ham Network, that there was one of our team who's present on the stream at the moment who did actually still go to the final. Anyone want to put their hand up and confess? Mr. Ratomski? Yes, there you go. Tell us how that came about, John.
Well, I think I I booked the accommodation back in January, just in case we were going to get to the final.
Right.
And I was chatting over with Martin, who I travelled with. And he sort of said, look, whatever happens, we're going to go, because we enjoyed Seville first time round. And it was such a good few days. And we thought, well, we're going to go. We decided to go. Got the flights into Madrid. Missed our train from Madrid to Seville. All the trains were full. We blagged our way on as two 60-year-old guys with the train manager to say, look, can we stand in the buffet car for 2.5 hours if there's no seats? And he kind of looked us up and down and said, yeah, okay, come on, it's carriage number 6. So the train got going, and I said to Martin, look, let's walk down to the next carriage and just see if there's any more seats. We walk in the next one, and there's 2 disabled seats there, empty. So we sat in there for the whole of the trip there. But overall, it was a good experience. Lots of Rangers fans. The worst part of it was, though, the organisation at the stadium was so poor. The refreshments, they ran out after half an hour, 29 degrees Celsius, 9:30 at night locally. And I said to Martin, look, I'll go and get us some drinks. Walked around the back. One kiosk was shut. Another kiosk was shut. Eventually, I got to this queue of about 50 people. And all they're doing is selling hot soft drinks. There's no bottled water left. Non-alcoholic beer. And there's people walking around with used plastic cups, which they're filling up in the toilets to take water back. This was after half an hour.
Yeah.
So, that was pretty poor organisation from UEFA. And they would have known a stadium like Seville that time of the year as well.
Yeah, I guess it could have been worse. You could have been in Paris, a week or two later. But it was a bit of a mess altogether, wasn't it? The organisation. I mean, we saw a bit of it travelling in, Frankfurt. There was quite a few problems, wasn't there, with the tickets? But hopefully there'll be some lessons learned And things will be a little bit better next year, as Nick rightly says. West Ham in Europe again, of course, in the Conference League. Chris, I guess we better move on. I think it's our schedule's gone out the window now. We're running about. It's all gone. We're more than 20 minutes over time now. But I hopefully no one's in any great hurry to rush on. We're down to award number 11. 3 more to go. It's the goal of the season award.
Yeah, and some cracking winners. I was looking back at them earlier. I mean, obviously at the time, I didn't realise that Chris used to just pick whatever he thought the winner was and announce them. But you know, we'll go on to a legitimate award ceremony this year. I mean, it was last season won by the Lanzini Screamer away at Spurs. I'd imagine he's probably going to be in tight contention this year as well. I think my personal favourite would be that Payet free kick against Palace that defied physics, as far as I'm concerned, in the way it went up and down. But you've also got Rav's solo goal against Spurs in that list as well, which was a hell of a memory. And we are already joined by glamorous and handsome and everything he needs to be for this award. Rio, you can announce this one for me. I knew you were ready. I thought that was Game Face. It was Blue Steel. Quite on for me. You know the drill. I don't need to guide you through.
Yeah, I've done this a couple of times before. Right, so yeah, in reverse order, in third place with 8% of the vote, Jarrod Bowen's goal away to Lyon, the brilliant breakaway following the pass by Pablo Fornals. In second place, and this was my personal choice, the really emotive goal that Andre Yarmolenko scored at home to Aston Villa. That picked up 12%. But retaining his title, the man who had the quickest feet in Croydon that day, Manuel Lanzini against Crystal Palace, with a whopping 63% of the vote.
That was brilliant from him. It was during his resurgence, wasn't he? Just kind of come back into the team, and he'd not quite been the player he'd been from years before, but he had a spell, at least in the middle there, maybe faded towards the end. He had that spell there where he looked known like he was kind of almost close back to his best, really, wasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, the when you look at that, what he did with the interchange with his feet there was something special.
Magic.
And it was all the more remarkable that game because they played us off the park really, and you know we somehow found ourselves with a big lead, and how they didn't get anything out of that game, Lord alone knows. But still, it's only Palace, so sort of. No, it was an important goal, and it was just gobsmacking. I mean, it just made the trip to that hellhole of a stadium, and I know Pinky's with me on this. It just made it all the more worthwhile because it's a horrible place, as is Croydon in general. But
it'd be remiss of me not to go to you, Pinky, to just describe your feelings in watching that goal, whether it was just annoyance of being where you were, or I mean, I still can't quite work out how he did it.
I think for individual technique and brilliance, you can't argue with it in terms of goal of the season, because to move the ball from one foot to the other and smack it in the way he did, you cannot argue with that. In terms of just picking up in Selhurst Park, it's an unsafe ground. It should have the after weight stand closed. I'll keep saying it till I'm blue in the face. I've been in touch with Mr. Parrish on numerous occasions about it, and I have no good things to say about Selhurst Park, and particularly the after weight stand. And there you go. But it kind of takes the shine off it. But you can't knock the goal. I didn't vote for that goal myself, I have to say. Football being a team game and all the rest of it, goals win matches and change matches. I went with Antonio's away at Leeds United. So there you go.
Actually, we've had some good goals actually, because that could have won in season past with the skill of that, and the fact that it hasn't come in that top three. And as you bring that up, it's kind of shocked me that we've got to that point, really, because it was such a great goal.
You're never going to get me voting anything else when you've scored in the last minute at Ellen Road. Have some of that, you lot. Yeah, I mean, come on.
In terms of enjoyable places to get a goal. In terms of enjoyable places to get a goal away at Ellen Road in the last minute like that, it could have been a tap-in and it still might have got the odd vote. What about you? How about you, Nick? Would you have a pick for your goal of the season?
Yeah, my goal of the season was Yarmolenko's against Seville, just for what it meant. That we'd got through another European tie, especially, it was extra time. It was 1-0 down in the first leg, and what with all the doodles going out in Ukraine, and it was just everything to do with it. Even in the upper tier, right in the gods, where it's usually pretty. There's not much of an atmosphere. That Seville game was probably one of the best games for atmosphere I've ever been to. Not just at the new ground, but I think ever. There was just something about it. There was something in the air, and it wasn't a fantastic goal. It was just everything that surrounded that goal, the significance of it, the goal scorer, everybody just jumping about and hugging each other. It was like we won the cup kind of thing, and to me, that's what good goals are as well. It's not just. Lanzini's, was a hit against Tottenham last season, was a hit and hope. And if it was against, I don't know, Norwich, I don't think that would have been goal of the season. But because it was where it was, the circumstances of it, do you know what I mean? Where we were 3-0 down and it's gone to 3-2, and that's the 3-3, and it's against Tottenham. So it's not always about the quality of the goal, because let's be real, Lanzini's was this hit and hope, and it went in, and in a way so was Yarmolenko's, but it was just everything that surrounded it for me which made that the goal of the season.
There's definitely a criteria for goals, isn't there? There's that kind of ability. It's what it makes you feel, I suppose. I mean, there was nothing more.
Exactly, yeah.
There was something visceral about that Sevilla game, wasn't there?
There was, and exactly. That's spot on, and it was everything about the feeling. And that's what to me what football's about. It's about the emotion. It's about the feeling. It's about the ups. It's about the downs, and it's about the fairy tales. And that goal was a fairy tale goal in all respects.
That game, I hurt my jaw so badly. Really, but I couldn't speak properly the next day because of the way I'd been screaming. It was of pure passion, the Sevilla game. And yeah, I mean, I suppose it was the emotional tie of the Yarmolenko goal and who it was and the importance of it it'll probably be harder to forget than Lanzini's goal, even though Lanzini's goal may be more the piece of art, I suppose, that people are looking for, Graham, in those kind of goals.
Yes, very much so. I mean, there's very much two strains in there. You've got those. Sorry, I wasn't actually listening to what you were saying there, so I'm not. I
wasn't going to pass it over. Then I thought, timing-wise, we've got to catch up. I'll speed things along and I'll chuck it to Graham. I'll do it slyly so no one will even notice what I'm doing. I
was looking at the screen over here. My apologies. No, but I mean, there's two sorts of. There's obviously lots of different goals, but you've either got the spectacular, one strike, or you've got. I mean, one of my favourite ever West Ham United goals was a pretty mediocre game. It was against Middlesbrough, if I recall correctly, a few years ago. One of the first season or second season at the London Olympic Stadium. Dimitri Payet, that goal when he just waltzed around the entire team. It was just a thing of beauty. It was kind of like, I'm sure Tottenham fans feel the same about Ricky Vidia, for example, in the 82, I think it was FA Cup final. Where he did something. So it was just one of those. Maradona, did it against England. They're goals that stick in the memory forever. Sometimes not for good reasons, but we had so many really good goals this year. I went for 4-0. I voted for 4-0 against Liverpool. That was my favourite goal. I thought it was sensational. It was just the speed of the attack. But I think you could have made a case for any one of those this year. I mean, did anyone vote for anything different? Noam, did you pick one of those winners, or did you?
No, I went for Lanzini. Out of the nominations that we were presented. It was just the sort of dazzling footwork.
Oh, it was unbelievable, was it? I mean, Paul, was that your favourite, or would you have gone for something else?
Well, I mean, I went for Antonio at Leeds.
Okay.
Last seconds, it was a cracking game, great performance by us. I can't remember the last time we won there, and I thought it was a brilliant performance and a very, very good goal, taken ever so well.
Yeah.
And as you say, though, it was right in the last seconds. The whole place went ballistic. Quite a few of them got on the pitch, which is a bit of a blow. But it was just a really good afternoon.
That was you and Pinky, wasn't it? I think.
Yeah. I don't know. Is that what Pinky has said? The same?
Yeah.
Exactly. It was a cracking afternoon. It was a really good day out. That was.
Yeah.
And we played particularly well. It was the best of Antonio, picking it up and taking, with his strength and his power and his running. Great goal, great afternoon.
That whole afternoon we had, of course, a long distance away game.
Yeah.
There's no fuel at any of the pumps around the country. So everyone's there going, have I got enough fuel to get there and back and all the rest of it? I was staying in Glasgow at the time. I knew I could get to Leeds. Wasn't sure I was going to have enough juice to get back to Glasgow, but you kind of worry about that later. So there's a few of our supporters actually missed that day because they just couldn't risk it on the fuel front. So
Really?
there were a few gaps.
I'm a lot closer to Leeds than you are, I'm afraid. So it's not too far across the M60, the M62. So I can do Leeds in about half an hour. So for me, it's almost a home game. But anyway, it was a really, really good afternoon.
Yeah.
So those of us who remember Leeds from old, and some of the trips there, and some of the performances that Revy's team used to turn out against us, which goes back to my favourite West Ham game is the 7-0 League Cup game.
I'm going to say that. Yeah.
Absolutely marvellous night because of who we were beating there, because they were really the most evil team you could ever come across. And I've never really forgotten it. So going to Leeds that day and seeing them win, great day out.
I think Revy didn't he say after that game when he got them back at the training ground something along the lines of no team of mine are ever going to lose to that lot again, or something like that, wasn't it?
Exactly what he said, and that's exactly what happened.
Pretty much, yeah.
Because they kicked lumps out of us every other time from then on.
Yeah.
I mean, the only team, Harry Redknapp getting sent off.
I remember that was 68, 69, somewhere around there.
I mean, he couldn't punch his way out of a paper bag, for God's sake.
I actually feel young now. This is good. Carry on, gents.
He decked Billy Bremner, didn't he? It was a nasty piece of work.
Who Redknapp?
Well, they've been kicking him all afternoon, and he.
He just. I don't know how long there was left, but he just got fed up with being kicked all over the place, and so just turned around and flattened Bremner, which we all. I mean, which one of us hasn't wanted to do that from time to time?
Well, exactly.
Well, this is wonderful, Wilco, because you've now got two of, dare I call them, the elder statesmen on KUMB here, discussing a match and holding a grudge fully 30 years before Jack Elderson was born.
Yeah, with that, exactly.
Grudge is older than Jack.
Who's counting, lads? Hey, who's holding a grudge?
I mean, I remember the league game at Upton Park when Leeds came over there and kicked lumps out of us. The atmosphere at Upton Park that day was horrific. I mean, it was almost a riot. People were so incensed by them. I've never forgotten it. I'm sorry.
There you go. Well, those of you watching who don't remember those days are beginning to realise why dirty Leeds are thusly called.
I don't remember. I don't remember Harry Redknapp being anything but an old man. That's what I'm going to say.
Yes, there you go. He's a bit of a rascal in his day, by all accounts. But I've not heard that before. So there you go.
He's settled down with his dog now, hasn't he? Behaves himself.
Indeed. Shall we move on? We've got two more awards to go, and they are the biggies. We've got coming up very soon is our award of distinction. But before we do that, we've got probably the biggest award of the year, which is the Player of the Year. It's been won by some big names in the past. I can't tell you who they are because I've just scrolled off the screen, so I'm going to have to scroll down and find my list again. Here we go. Starting the very first winner of the KUMB Player of the Year was John Hartson, 1998, 97, 98, followed by Steve Lomas. Rio agreed with that one, I'm sure. Paolo Di Canio, Stuart Pearce, when he was still playing, Seb Schemmel. Just going through this list, I'm just wondering how many of these players turned to pot, should I say, the year after. I mean, I think Schemmel set a precedence there, didn't he, really?
Yeah.
But Joey Cole, Matthew Everington, Teddy Sheringham, Danny Gabidon, Carlos Tevez wasn't here the following year. Robert Green, don't think he lasted much longer. Scotty Parker. James Tompkins, Winston Reid, Mark Noble. Only time he ever won it, 2014. Aaron Cresswell, Dimmy Pyatt, off he went. Manny Lanzini, Marco Arnautovic, another one. Lucas Fabianski, and last year's winner, Declan Rice. Can he win it again? We're about to find out because Noam is going to bring us in reverse order the top three in this year's KUMB.com Player of the Year.
Okay, in third place, and also winner of the gold medal for the best new nickname, is Craig Ballon Dawson, who polled in at 14% of the vote. In second place, it's our most improved player, Jared Bowen, who managed 32%. But out in front, much as one might have expected, on 52% of the vote, is Declan Rice.
There you go. Declan Rice is, for the second year in a row, your KUMB.com Player of the Year. He won, of course, the Hammer of the Year award this season. He's always in the awards. I mean, as Chris was saying earlier, 4 times winner of the Young Player of the Year, only not in it this year because the rule is you've got to be 21 or under at the start of the season. Of course, he's too old now, but he's graduated known to the Big Boys award now, two years in a row for Declan.
Yeah, and deservedly so. When we've done the eyes up, Mother Brown things, and you come to us at the end, and it's time for a sort of, who's your man of the match. And, I think sometimes we're guilty of sort of betting without Declan because he has such a good game and has such a good standard of play that you think, well, he's done that, and so we'll pick Bowen because he scored a cracking goal or something like that. But in reality, he's basically the heart and soul of that team. And I think, Player of the Year, I really can't argue with that at all. Well deserved.
Okay, good stuff. John, it's nice, I think. I mean, in years gone by, we would have seen the likes of Craig Dawson on a list like this, and it would have spoken of the paucity of quality available to the manager. But it's not the case this year, is it? I mean, what an incredible season he's had, and due recognition to get voted in third place.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you perhaps saw the banner at Frankfurt, Virgil van Dawson that somebody had made, and so appropriate. But yeah, it's great in his twilight to see him, performing so well in the crowd, and he's a crowd favourite.
Declan, for you though, as Player of the Year, John.
Is what? Sorry, Declan. Yeah.
Declan, agree with that.
But Craig Dawson, he's the new Ginge. I think that the fans appreciate him, and he gives 110%, and makes perhaps the odd mistake as we've seen, the penalty at Chelsea and so on, but he gives it his all, and it's great that we got him, and how it turned out for him, because obviously when he did sign, we thought, oh crumbs, not the best of signings, but look at how he's turned out.
It's a really lovely story, and it's even in this day and age, I think it's great that we've got Craig Dawson's in the game. Every one of us here, I think it's fair to say, wrote him off, didn't we, before he started, or at least didn't give him much chance at West Ham, and he's turned it around and been absolutely phenomenal. But I mean, we're here to talk about Declan Rice, Pinky. He's the KUMB.com Player of the Year. I mean, a deserved winner for you. Would you have voted for him?
A deserved winner. I didn't vote for him. I'll come on to who I voted for shortly, but very much a deserved winner. And for anyone who wants to know how good or good he isn't, just watch the England game from last night. They do say some of the games, your best games are the ones you don't play. And a very highly rated Calvin Phillips played for England last night. Some big transfer rumours about him, about big fees going for Phillips. Well, I had a real good look at Phillips last night, and there's no comparison between him and Rice. Rice is head, shoulders, and torso above Phillips, and Phillips is a good footballer. Don't get me wrong. So Rice, week after week, put in exemplary performances for West Ham United. Great attitude. Played the game competitively, physically. Covered every blade of grass, did everything you could want from a young player, and left foot, right foot, you name it. We'd all like him to get a few more goals, but you know what? That doesn't make him a bad player. The fact he's not quite getting double digits of goals, I think that will come into his game.
Yeah,
in the season. My vote actually went to Michael Antonio.
Okay,
because just of his essential contribution to the team. His work rate, week in, week out, the way he occupied 2, 3, 4 defenders, He's developed a couple of subtle aspects to his game as well. And I thought, of all the players that each week you're thinking, please let them be fit. That to me is the one you really need.
Right.
He was the player I sweated on every single week, thinking, please let Antonio be fit. Now, you could argue that's because we had nobody else. Well, that's fine.
Well, I was going to say, yeah.
But he's still got to go out and do it now. And he did the work when actually other players may have thrown the toys out the pram. And I thought Antonio, for me, had a great season. But you can't argue with Declan. You know, a fantastic, fantastic footballer who we're lucky to have. And you know,
and another one who's got that enthusiasm, the smile on his face, the joy of playing football. You know, which
clearly loves it. Clearly loves it. Paul, how good can Declan be? Can he hold down a place at a Real Madrid or a Barca or a Bayern or someone like that?
Be interesting to see if someone of that ilk did actually ever come for him.
Right.
The one thing he hasn't quite got is explosive pace, but that's the only thing. I mean, he gets around the ground enormously quickly, and he's a phenomenally good young player. He's come on and learned a lot as his age. He's without question England's holding midfield player, if that's what you want to call it. There's nobody else. And I wouldn't say he's carried us this season, but I think that his presence has carried us this season. I mean, he's such a character now around the team, such a dominant personality on the pitch that he's sensational. I mean, the Kidderminster game, you go back to that, he wasn't playing. We were dreadful that day, but you just stick him on 20 minutes, whatever it was from the end, and he sorts it out, scores the goal, and he looked. People have looked at that. The Kidderminster players think, "Blimey, this kid's 4 or 5 levels above us," and that's what he is. And he's above pretty much anybody else in the Premier League. How long we get him, keep him, I really don't know. We just should be happy. We keep him for as long as we can, because eventually he will leave. There's absolutely no question about that, because we can't give him Champions League football. And that's what he wants. Now the line is that he said he's not going to go anywhere this summer. We're not going to sell him in this summer. He's got a World Cup to worry about. I think he'll stay this year, but I honestly can't see him being with us beyond next summer. I really can't. But just be grateful that he's here for as long as he is.
Well, we're certainly enjoying it at the moment, aren't we? While he is with us. I mean, on that question, Nick, how long do you think Declan will stay? Do you think it's a given that one more year and that's it, he's off if we don't attain Champions League football? And even if we do you still think he'll go?
Yes, I think he will. I mean, we actually can't match the going rate for wages of an England international. I mean, you talk about how much Lingard wants, and Bowen's going to, look at what Bowen's earning and think it's a ridiculous amount of money in comparison to what's around him. Going rate for England internationals is 150,000 a week.
Yeah.
The bottom line. Well, we can't afford that. We just won't pay that, which is the reason we're not actually getting some of the players I think that Moyes has been trying to sign. Newcastle are throwing money at the wall because they can, and eventually he will go because he'll get the rewards for his talents. And there's only half a dozen clubs that can do that for him.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Excellent. Nick, would you have gone for Declan? Was he your choice this year, or perhaps Bowen for you?
It was Bowen for me. I think without Bowen's goals and assists this season, we wouldn't have had the season that we had. I think he was actually more influential than Rice this season. I don't think Rice's season this season was actually as good as the one he had previously. Whether that's to do with the fact that it was more games and he was looking tired and he's had a busy summer.
Yeah,
I think he was actually better the season before. So it did go to my vote did go to Jared, but by the same token, I'm not going to begrudge Rice getting it at all because he's fully deserved. So
yeah, it's what I think. No made the point, Rio, didn't he? That we quite often find ourselves watching the games and trying to find reasons to vote for somebody else, because you could quite easily go for Declan every week, couldn't you, as man of the match, because he is just so far ahead of everybody else in the squad in terms of his quality.
Yeah, absolutely. And he took on a more expensive role in the midfield this year, which was maybe to the detriment of Thomas Souček's performances.
Yeah.
But he's done it with absolute aplomb. He's not only the fulcrum of this side, he's also the fulcrum of the national side.
Mm-hmm.
And when is the last time we could say that about a West Ham player? We've got to go back about 50 odd years.
Yeah, exactly. Do you think it'll be much longer?
I'm pretty much in agreement with Paul Wayne. I think he'll be here till next summer. And if we don't win the Europa Conference, I think he'll be looking elsewhere. But if he does leave, he'll be going with the hearts and minds of West Ham fans everywhere, because he's given his all in his time here.
Certainly has. Chris, I mean, I like the point No made about how he plays with a smile on his face. And he does, doesn't he? You can see, it's Pablo Fornals, I think, is another one. When we score a goal, you can see it's almost like that childlike, burst of excitement comes out. They're all over the place, and it's so wonderful to see.
I think it's great for us in terms of negotiation for a future transfer, because he's obviously happy. Yeah, he's great like that, and I think it's really important. We've spoken about this a bit on the pod, but he's kind of younger players and for the younger fans. And you're seeing someone like Dec, who's obviously brilliant, but is also a really nice character. He holds himself well. He's a very good role model. It's one of those things that can be left behind. Maybe I'm just a teacher focusing on these things, but I think he's by far and away our best player as well. I did my average ratings for my match reports, and he's half a point better than anyone else. And I actually think I probably treat him harsher than anyone else, because his standards to me, an 8 out of 10 game for him is a 10 out of 10 game for most people, because he's that.
This is the point we were just making with Rio, isn't it? He's just that much better and stands out consistently.
Yeah, I mean, he's a classy footballer who can do a lot of things. He lifts us. I mean, the Kidderminster game is that kind of, I suppose, Gerrard or Brian Robson type moment of that kind of talismanic display, which was maybe the one thing he hadn't done.
Hello, Kidderminster.
I know.
That's my only gripe with Rice, is that he's only ever done it. The only time he's grabbed a game by the balls and taken control was against Kidderminster, and that's the thing. And I want
no one else did.
I know. I was talking with Doc H. Ball when I was in Frankfurt, and he said, "You hold Declan to higher standards, don't you?" I said, "Look, if he's going to be this box-to-box midfielder, I don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he needs to be as good as Gerrard, because Gerrard was absolute class. He was one of the best in his world, in the world at what he did. But he needs to be taking hold of games by the balls more, rather than patting the ball about. Because I think he's got it in his locker. I think he's got the ability, and it's not something you'd probably ever level about Declan Rice. I don't think he's actually got the confidence in the Premier League and even in Europe to do it in case he gets it wrong. I call him as a player that's kind of what I'd say is as robotic, mechanical. He's functional in that defensive midfield position, and that is the best in the world. If he's going to expand his game a lot more, maybe it's up here. He needs to start grabbing games by the balls and be creating further up the pitch, goals and assists.
For me, it's a little bit why I rate him, and I think he's tactically aware in a way that most English players haven't been for generations. That golden generation didn't have anyone who seemed to have the brain to know where the holes were behind. And I think it's slightly unappreciated. I get as well, if he wants to be that, he does have to take that step. But I just don't see a player we have that touched him. I think my top three were Antonio third, Souček second, which will surprise many, I'm sure, and Rice then half a point, and it was only a 7.5, but that's not a bad average when you take in how averages work in these ratings. And I mean, it's in the way Dawson is on that list and a third because the expectations for him are so much lower down. Not that he doesn't deserve it, and he's had some great performances, and I do think we've all, possibly rightly, we've all got that almost that kind of coach with a child thing going with Declan Rice. Go, no, you don't get to be judged by those standards anymore. We know you're capable of more, so you will be judged by more. But it would be a travesty if he didn't pick up the majority of the player of the seasons whilst he was here, I think.
I mean, it could come in there on Rice. I'm not quite so gloomy about him moving on as one or two others.
Okay.
We value him very highly, and rightly so. But the job he does and the position he plays isn't 150 million pounds worth of budget's worth. Other clubs aren't going to pay 150 million pounds for Declan because they have alternative players who they can get for significantly lower fees. So I don't quite see the orgy of bidding for his services that we might like in terms of money. Having said that, my preference, were he to leave West Ham United, would be for him to go overseas. I think to become the complete player that I think Dyers was referring to there, I think a season or two in Spain or Germany or even Italy to learn about the tempo of matches, when to really attack, when to really sit and control the game. I think he needs to learn a different kind of football. I think Premier League football, it's 100 miles an hour. That's all we know. It's what we love in England. But I think because of that, some of our very best players don't develop into the absolute world-class level, which they might do if they got a broader footballing education. So for me, I'd like to see him spend maybe a year or two at Real Madrid if he had to go anywhere. He's probably good enough to get into their first team. And I think then come back to England and show England what a really top player he is.
Okay, excellent. Some good contributions there, chaps. Declan Rice is the KUMB.com Player of the Year for season 2021-22, winning it in consecutive seasons. That is our penultimate award of the evening. One more to go. Chris, over to you, buddy.
I think this is an easy one for me in a way, because if there's ever it's the right award to let, and I don't know the winner, but I would assume the right winner to let Pinky, who's going to host this, basically just have the floor and kind of talk about the person, or talk about the person, what they mean and what they have meant to the club. I know David Moyes won it last year in its first year, which is a pretty big deal for a manager to be popular enough to win an award of its own, of a distinction. But I assume it'll be a new winner this year, Pinky. But I think I'm guessing who's won the award, and I'm guessing it, as a man going home and away everywhere, the chance for you to speak about him would be worth taking.
Jack Wilshere.
Great time in Denmark on loan or wherever he's been.
No, I mean, there's a standout candidate. Without huge build-up of fanfare, the Player of Distinction award this year will go to Mark Noble, and I'm just going to talk a few minutes, if I may, about Mark and what he's done. 550 appearances for West Ham United in the modern era, in the helter-skelter pace of the modern game, at a club that's had more than its fair share of turmoil in the last 15 years. We're the only club that can bankrupt a billionaire. Think about that. This is why no one in Saudi Arabia or Qatar will come near us. The oil wells would run dry within a week because we're West Ham, and this is what we do. But 550 appearances, and just to put that in context, Mark was the 748th player to appear for West Ham United's first team. And since he made that his debut, coming on as a sub, as he did away at Southend, I think it was, 232 other players have actually made their first appearances for West Ham United. So in all those seasons where Mark has been there as it's noble again, 232 other professional footballers have come, and a great many of them gone. And some of those players have been superstars, really good footballers. Scott Parker, don't tell me Scott Parker was a bad player. Don't tell me Dimitri Payet was a bad player. Yeah. Noble, though, has been there week in, week out, retaining his starting berth in the team by right, selected by, I think it's 8 different managers. 8 different managers have had a look at Mark Noble and gone, is he any good, this lad? Is he any good? And I've seen 1 or 2 of them toy with the idea of, can we do without him? But oh no, back he comes, earns his right in the starting lineup. And to do that, when I'm saying about 232 other players have come and mostly gone, to get one game for a top flight English team is a miracle. You know, we've all dreamt of it. Everyone on this broadcast. To play 550 matches for a club like West Ham United is incredible. And just to put him, where would he sit compared with some of the greats, in my view? If you say, well, it's one of the debates we've had on KUMB many times. Who are the club legends? And you'd say, you've got to have the record goal scorer in there, Vic Watson. You'd have to have the all-time appearance record holder in there, Billy Bonds. You're then looking at, to fill another 3 spaces, you've got Moore, Hurst and Peters. You can't do much more than win trophies with West Ham and the World Cup with England. You know, anyone who thinks they're not legends, well, go and shake your head. Okay? So there's 5 bona fide legends in our football club. And I can see Graham there go, what no Trevor Brooking? And I'm going, yeah, that's how high the bar is to be a legend in a football club. That's where you need to set the bar. So if you go down the next rung, where you've probably got your Brookings, for my money, Alvin Martin, Alan Devonshire, players like that. Paul, who's been watching West Ham a lot longer than I have, would have his own ideas about players that could go in there. And then you're into players of, I think, Mark Noble's genuine position and where he would sit and where he would rank. Yeah, and you're in amongst players like Stevie Potts, a Dix, a Cotti, a McAvenny in the modern era. Hugely popular players that have delivered plenty and then some for West Ham United. So for me, Nobes has held this club together through some very dark days. You know, I mean, you know, the Sam Allardyce era, heavens above. Yeah, some of the football wasn't great, if we're being honest. It's so long since we've won a trophy as a club. You know, we're getting to the stage now where has anyone under the age of 50, can they legitimately remember West Ham winning the trophy? So these are dark days for our club. But Noble, for 15, 16 years, has held us together, competed, and been a genuine first team starter. Because think about it, Bonzo had to satisfy 2 managers in his entire 799 match career with West Ham United. Brooking, 2 managers. Yeah, Nobles had to satisfy 8 managers. 8 managers have had a look, and every single one of them said, yep, you're starting every single week. And I think one of the reasons why the fans appreciate what Mark has done for the club, it's the fact he gives everything he's got. You can argue about the caliber of a player. You can argue about the skills, whether or not they've got, as Paul described on Declan Rice there, a burst of pace. What you can't debate is effort, application, desire, the willingness to do it for the team. And as someone that pays at the gate and has done pretty much every week, I mean, of Mark's 550 games, I think I've been at probably 530 of them, something like that. He has never, ever shortchanged the supporter that pays at the gate. So for me, an absolute worthy winner, great club servant, hats off to him.
And undoubtedly hard to beat. I mean, from a younger fan's perspective, I suppose, to come from that, we don't have Brooking and we don't have Moore, we don't have Hurst, we don't have trophy winners, we don't have these kind of legends we've seen play. Most players give us a few years, then go on to better things. And you're talking about a man there who would take the time to record and send a message to Jack's family when they were going through difficult times, because he was the captain of the club, and he's the kind of man that would do that. He as a man I've met, he signed my arm. I think you might be able to see a bit of it there, the tattoo. So I met him on TV. It's fading in and out. And I mean, I remember saying to Graham after interviewing Shaka Hyssop that I was extremely nervous and shaking to begin with. I spent the whole time I spoke to Mark, for the brief moments I got to on that show, shaking, because that's the kind of level of man he is to us. to us younger fans, he's our conduit into that team. He is a West Ham fan. He's of a bygone era we get told about but haven't witnessed, I suppose. And for many, he's going to be that kind of last symbol of what the Boleyn was as well, I guess, because of the way things are.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, the whole story, picture the scene where the club have got to send back to his house to get his boots, then walks home from playing a game. The fact that he would always stop and talk to a fan. I mean, I was very lucky once. I was up at Rush Green and in bowls, Mark, first in for training, as you'd expect as the captain, and in he comes, and he looks $1 million. I'm not joking. There's not a pick of fat on him anywhere. And there's me, a bit of a unit, it must be said. And I'm just saying look, how fantastically fit you look. And we made some small talk, and he laughed and said, yeah, I'm in great shape and all the rest of it. And 3 weeks later, out comes the story that had been playing for the last 5 weeks was something like a double hernia. So if you want to talk professional, there he is just chewing the fat with a supporter heading into training, and he gives nothing away. Nothing that a competitor on the field could use that might slip out on social media. I've saw Martin Noble today, he's got a double hernia. No. Gives nothing away. The consummate professional who actually has held the club together. Brilliant bloke, undoubtedly.
As a representative to the club, so I mean, John, you're doing the Iron Supporting Food Bank system, kind of valuable stuff in the community, in the country, and Mark has been a representative of the club to be proud of in his time with the club, hasn't he?
Yeah, very much so. Right across the board. 18 months ago, we were invited to a training ground to do a bit of a handover with Christmas presents from the club and so on. And Mark was one of the players that was designated to work with us. And at the end of the photo shoot, because it took place very, very quickly before training, he actually came back across to me and came across and shook my hand again and said, thanks for what you're doing. I've not forgotten that moment. And, that's Mark. That's typical Mark.
It's a sign of the man, I suppose. And that's what we've been proud of as a club, Paul, to have in Mark Noble is the kind of, it's been more than the player he's been, hasn't it? It's been the man he's been as a West Ham player.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Eamon's has got it right. I mean, he has carried the club off the field as much as on it. He's really been an important character. The guys I go with, they're half my age. They're horrified. They have no idea what West Ham will be like without Mark Noble. And you have to think about that, because his character and his professionalism and his status has been crucial to everything. Really crucial. I mean, the managers that he's worked under, as I said, some of them we wouldn't really want managing West Ham, but he blends. He goes. He fits in. And the other thing is he makes everybody else feel welcome. You hear stories of lots and lots of people who've joined the club. He's the first person they meet. He's the guy who makes them feel welcome. He makes sure they're okay. There was a picture this week of this lad from Manchester City. He's only 16. And Mark Noble is there shaking his hand, posting the pictures, making him feel welcome. As an ambassador, he is just different class. And we will need to, you can't replace that, but we will need to find something which provides that continuity when he's gone. What is West Ham going to be like when he's gone? And that's the question I remember talking about to my son back on the train. He thinks he idolises him. And West Ham have done nothing in his lifetime. They've won nothing. But Mark Noble is really important to the history of our club and how we develop without him. I'll be interested to see what happens, really. I don't think he's daft enough to want to be manager. I don't think there was an occasion, I think, when Trevor Brooking was offered the job a couple of times, and I think his wife said, do you really want your legacy at this club ruined by being manager? And maybe that's what Mark thinks. And he doesn't actually need to do very much now. He's clearly a wealthy man. He can pick and choose what he wants to do. I think he could be a really good television pundit. And when he's been on television, he's talked a lot of sense. He knows a lot of people. his view carries a lot of things. I think he could do that, but whatever. I mean, he'll be around the club, but he won't be in the heart of the club. That's what we're going to miss.
I mean, he was one of those lesser mentioned during the COVID lockdowns when they talked about players and supporting the NHS. And I think he was brought up by people rather than really being pushed by the press. I think it was Troy Deeney made a very big case of how important he was. And it's hard to look past kind of a future without Mark Noble in a West Ham shirt for me. Since I was about 15, 16, I suppose, maybe even younger, he's been in the team basically. He's until these last few years traded down Rio, and he's just. I mean, it'll be 20 years of your life as nearly. It's just we've been Mark Noble as a fixture of the team.
Yeah, my kids don't know anything other than Mark Noble in West Ham. I can't really put anything better than like the rest of the colleagues have actually said. What I will add, though, is when you hear Mark Noble talk about our club, he speaks from the heart. He speaks like any of us would. He loves West Ham. And in the modern era, where you get professional players who just throw away quick sound bites to appease people, he speaks from the heart. It's genuine. And all I can say is that is exactly how I feel about the club. And for someone in his position to do what he's done, to satisfy 8 managers, play over 550 games in this era, it's just absolutely incredible. And it's going to be sorely missed.
It's quite an emotional into that season, Graham. I don't know if you want to move on to the wrap now, Graham, and finish this off. We're only 35 minutes over.
Noble, actually. So no, because I've been pretty quiet tonight.
You can say whatever you want within reason. I best put that out there. I'm sure there's lawyers the legal team behind Graham.
I'll keep it calm, right, and I'll tone it down. You know, it's been said that he's going to be the last. He's going to be the last one club man, and we'll never see his likes again. Now, we've got a player that currently plays for us, and I don't mean Declan Rice, who is a local lad, who is a West Ham fan, and he's just started to make a name for himself in the first team, and he's already taken on one of Mark Noble's roles. You may have seen the story. Now, he's not a spectacular player, but I think he's a player that's going to go all the way to the top with us. And that's Ben Johnson. Now he kind of reminds me of Noble in a way that he seems like a genuine kid. He seems like he's West Ham through and through, but he's not actually. Although I think it'd say he's going to go to the top. I was raving about him at the start of the season, and for the older, how can I put it? For the older generation, he will make a great defender, but for the new style of football and the game, as has been said, his attacking prowess is not where it should be, and perhaps it's not going to be where it should be. But I think he's a player who potentially could have a very, very long and fruitful career with West Ham United, and kind of watch this space, because I think he's going to be maybe a Mark Noble Mark II, let's say. You can see the influence that Noble's had on him. And he's a good kid. And they don't come along often in football. He seems very level-headed. And he could be the one to step into Noble's shoes. And that's actually a big compliment to Mark Noble and the influence that he has on that dressing room and the youngsters coming through, that we've got a player that even just, on stupid little things like wanting to sweep up the dressing room, you can't underestimate the mark that Noble has had on Ben Johnson for him to even consider doing that. And maybe Mark Noble's not the last in the line. Maybe he's just somebody in the long line of hammers that have come through and have served this club with distinction. And maybe Ben Johnson will be the next one.
He could well be a linking point that allows that kind of academy influence and that kind of West Ham fan pride to stay in with that. And if he's done that, and it looks, I think you're right, he has had the influence and the mark on these young players. You don't know what that could count for in the future. I mean, I'm certainly sure it's counted for. It will count for some loyalty from Deck, even if it's just to make sure he doesn't leave us with nothing.
Yeah,
because he's learned from a man like that. Yes, no, I should come to you. I think you're the only one I haven't come to yet anyway, so it'd be rude of me, really.
Just all I wanted to say was just to echo everything everybody said, and particularly Pinky, just to compliment on his splendid monologue earlier on there, which was very well said and very well put together. I'd just like to leave everyone with my possibly my favourite Mark Noble moment, and I'm trying to think. I think we'd beaten, maybe when we'd beaten Spurs on one of those occasions where he was being interviewed by whichever TV station covered it, presumably Sky, and he was asked a question, and he was trying to give a proper, sensible TV professional type response, but he just suddenly went like that. He just couldn't control himself, and he thought, well, when you saw that, I just summed up. There's a hammer, because we were all doing that, weren't we? And somebody with better memory than I will remember what game that was, but that was just such a beautiful moment. That's where he let his professional guard slip, and his true feelings came out. So I just want to remind everyone of that. That was all.
No, I think that was after we won at Anfield 3-0.
It was that week.
And he was interviewed there, and he said to the interviewer, "Is this for West Ham Fan TV?" They said, "Yeah," and he goes, "Yeah."
that was such a great weekend as well, and I'd just taken a nice fat redundancy payment off a company I didn't really enjoy working for, and I had something lined up anyway. So I thought, I don't care what the result is up here. I'm going to have a good weekend. And of course, it just turned out a lot better than anyone had anticipated. So, but yeah, it was just just sort of went like that, and it was brilliant.
Yeah, I will remember that kind of shit went forward. Any thoughts, Graham, before I let me wrap up?
Well, I mean, I just really echo what everybody else said. I mean, I concur with what Noam said about Pinky's piece there. It was lovely to sit and listen to, and just the perfect way to end the evening and cap Mark Noble's career. I mean, we're here celebrating, in a sense, our 25th year of doing these things, and kind of look back at it, and Mark Noble's been there pretty much the whole time, I mean, all right, we were there for a few years before he started, but 2004, wasn't it, his debut, Pinky said, against Southend in that League Cup game? You go
when you look at old footage and from before when he started, and you're surprised he's not there.
Yeah. It's a bit,
It didn't start till a couple of years after that or whatever. Yeah. It's just,
yeah, I mean, there's so many things you look back on. I mean, those early years, I remember looking over at when Bobby Zamora scored that goal against Preston in Cardiff, and there was Noble, like an excited teenager, leaping all over the back of Teddy Sheringham. The partnership he struck up with Carlos Tevez in the Great Escape, scored, was it Bolton? I think he scored that great goal against. It was just weird. A kid from Canning Town and someone who was going to go on and become one of the best strikers in the world, struck up this sort of unlikely partnership, and yeah, it's just, I think it's just a shame in a way that he didn't win anything in his career. It was all set up, wasn't it, with the Europa League for Noble to step up at the Roman Sanchez and hold that trophy aloft, and it would just have been, if you were writing a fairy tale, that's how it would have ended. And I guess it's just so West Ham that it didn't happen that way in the end. But Pinky,
even in his final season, a penalty at home against Manchester United. Will any other player ever be subbed on to take a spot kick? Ever. There's his place in history.
And any other club, would he miss it?
Yeah, but
yeah,
but
that's just West Ham, isn't it?
What it says, you're David Moyes, you're desperately trying to beat Manchester United, and you turn to a player off the bench because you know, at the time in European football, he was number one in terms of spot kicks, no question. So you go for the player who's most likely to put it away. It didn't work out, but there's his little piece of history, because 30 years from now, when Chris Skull's hosting a Question of Sport for the BBC, and all the rest of it, and then he comes out with a question: who's the only player ever to be subbed on to take a spot kick in a Premier League game? Yeah. A 95-year-old Graham Howlett will be saying, "Oh,
where's me B-Day?" Yeah, sensational stuff. Really. What a career! I mean, what a fairy tale it's been, and of course, he ends it all with a performance in an England shirt at last. Right, it wasn't a full England team, but it was just a perfect way to cap a career. So. We all doff our caps collectively, don't we, to Mark? What a wonderful servant he's been to this club. And I'm sure if he gets the opportunity, he'll continue to be so for many, many years to come. And it certainly will be a better club for it if he is here. Anyway, that's just about it for the rest of the night. And you know what? I guess sort of like handing things over as Mark Noble. So I'm gonna hand the wrap over to you, Chris, like the new breed. I mean, we're all a bit long in the tuft. Long in the tooth. We've been doing it for long enough.
Think for yourself, mate.
Yeah. Well, back in your day, they were called Tufts, weren't they? I mean, to be honest with you, I'm more worried that after Chris has gone to work for the club, Long has went to Hollywood, and you're the older one who's left behind. Now, I'm the older one of the three that does the podcast, and I've lived in Lincoln before, so I'm slightly worried that I'm being set up here.
Downhill from now, mate. It's all downhill.
That's right. I'm sure Jack and Cal will look after me with their big deals. It's fine.
I'm sure they will.
It's fine. You will. I know they're watching, and they will. I suppose I should go through a list of the winners then, if I am wrapping up. Back at 7:40, when we were well ahead of time and we were all a few hours younger, it was a double award win in the worst possible way for Alex Krell, as he won both worst signing and worst player of the year award. We quickly moved on. Best signing went to Kurt Zuma. Most improved player was Jared Bowen. Young player of the year, Ben Johnson. Most missed was Jesse Lingard and his disappearing watch as well. Hackett of the year, the winker, Moussa Dembele. Best KUMB writer award goes to the venerable Paul Walker. And much deserved, I must say. Most memorable moments was Yarmolenko's goal and the celebration and the emotion of it all in the home game against Aston Villa. The most memorable match, I think that was, if my memory suits me, presented to us by Chris Skull. It was 3-0 away in Lyon. It's just nice to spend about 10 minutes rubbing it in that he'd missed that game. The goal of the season award was Lanzini away at Palace. Player of the year went to Declan Rice, and our award of distinction, the Knees Up Mother Brown award of distinction, very deservedly went to Mr. Mark Noble. A big season, a big night as well. Not that long, really. Any final words for me? No, I left you so long last time. I'll come first this time, so you don't have time to think.
Just when we look at last season, just a couple of little things to consider. Firstly, only Real Madrid and West Ham beat both Man City and Liverpool last season. Just hang that one up there. And the other one is that we finished top in the Premier League of all the teams that still wanted to be in it. There. So that's got to be some sort of achievement.
Yeah, they can shove
on that, I'll say thank you very much, everyone, and good night.
Very fair. Rio, for you to wrap up for the year.
For this season, yes, it ended a little bit disappointingly, but no one would have expected our journey to be so long, particularly the European run. Look at the games that didn't get mentioned in the game of the season. Look at the goals that didn't get mentioned, goal of the season. Look at the players who didn't get mentioned, player of the season. No? it ended on a bit of a damp squib, but the journey was magnificent at times. And there's been some of the most emotional moments ever over West Ham United for me. Mark Noble's disappearance at the Andre Yarmolenko's goal, that whole night against Seville. You know, these are memories that I'm going to live forever, and they're going to stick in my mind. And it's why I love this club.
Yeah, it's a season of memories, definitely. Dyers, it's been one of those where if you go to football for happiness, it's actually been delivering.
It has. It most certainly has, and it's not even the games we've lost. It's been fun. I mean, you know, I've not travelled much to away games in Europe. In fact, I've only ever done one, and yeah, I mean, this is going to live in the memory because you know I did that. It was something off my bucket list, and I can see why people do spend thousands of pounds travelling around watching us because you know Frankfurt was pretty special. I mean, even the company was half decent. You know, I've certainly known worse, and yeah, it is. It's one that's going to live with me forever. And you know, if I walk out my front door tomorrow and get hit by a pigeon going at 900 miles an hour, and I don't wake up, I've stuff's on my bucket list is done. It's simple, so I'm not gonna forget it. It was a great season, all in all. Disappointed at the time when it ended, and it ended. Yeah, it was a bit of a damp squib, but you know I've slept on it since. And yeah, what a season!
We've had some seasons where damp squibs at the end would be a quite nice way to finish, I guess. Yeah. So you take what you can get. Pinky, how about you?
Great season. You know, I mean. You know, in the Premier League, we come in 7th on the back of a 6th the previous year. That's a very creditable performance when you consider who we're competing against week in, week out. The sovereign wealth funds of Abu Dhabi for Manchester City, you know, the hugely funded Manchester United, Liverpool, richer than God. You know, these are clubs that we're having to go toe to toe with. And we've got like money out the till to compete with them. You know, that's the kind of thing. To come in 7th in the Premier League, fantastic. The European trip. First, I've got to say, well done to West Ham United supporters, who generally speaking, with you know one small exception, were very well behaved across Europe. We had a bit of a dodgy night in Belgium, which was a shame. But generally speaking, we had a very good time in Zagreb. No doubt about it. Great time in Seville, great time in Lyon. You know, shame about the result, but a great time in Frankfurt. So those are great memories for West Ham United supporters. And yeah, we came up a little bit short in that Europa League when it really mattered. But you know what? So what? We got there. We played those games. We go again next season. And you look at the club now. We've got a decent team. Fairly thin squad that needs bolstering, but we've got belief that we can compete. And as much as some people like me will never ever grow to love the Olympic Stadium, there's 60,000 West Ham United supporters there week in, week out. And that's a good thing, isn't it? Yeah. You know, you can't really knock it. So for my money, great season, something to build on. Again, we go again, but it will be harder and harder because now Newcastle United have got the Middle East money. So, you know, let's see what Mr. Moyes can do with the players. But you can't knock the season we've had. Fabulous.
Undoubtedly, yeah. How about you, John? Your feelings for the year?
Yeah, it's been so exceptional. And all along I've been saying, particularly about Europe, it's our turn. Living in the Northwest, I've got many friends here who are, you know, Manchester supporters and Liverpool supporters, and you know they get these foreign trips every year as standard, and you know it's our turn. And I've been saying to them, it's our turn, and let's grasp it. My first European game this season was away in Genk, and I remember on that bus from the station to the stadium, all crammed on there like sardines, going around the corners really tightly, all stood up, holding on, but West Ham are massive everywhere we go. And I'm just thinking, yes, it's our turn. This is really great. And from then right up until May, it's great what the club and the team has done for the fans this year. We've been starved for so long of this progression of history from right through the cup run and right through the last week of the season. But there we were still in Europe, literally with 2 weeks before the end of the season. It's been incredible, and hoping for more of the same. But it's the experience that those 12 games has given to our players as well. I think that's really, really critical. You won't get that experience elsewhere, but for them to play the 12 games that they have, and hopefully another 12 or 13 this coming season, that'll make the squad a lot stronger. So full of optimism for August.
Definitely. Well, me and Graham are here mainly for our looks, so I will let our writer of the year sum us up with his final words. So, Paul, your thoughts of the season and the year we've had?
Well, a lot of it has already been said. I must admit, my colleagues here have spelled it out quite well. I go back a long way, I'm afraid. I was around for the 60s and 70s when we produced at the history, which we still look back on. My son has never seen anything of any consequence. He and I followed them this season right around the country, right around Europe, determined, because this was you could see it coming. This was a great season, and it might not happen again. And he saw more games than me in the end. He was absolutely determined to see it through to the end. 6th and 7th, as Eamon has said, is a tremendous achievement on our budget against the top 6 who we cannot compete with. It's not possible. However, whenever they go for a player that we might want, we can't compete. But I think the club and the team have produced something this season which a lot of us will remember for a long, long time. And I'm just grateful, really, that the kids I go with, I say kids, they're your age and that sort of thing, I've never seen anything. I just wanted them to experience something that I can remember from the 60s. And they did, nearly, as near as damn it, they did. And to them, this was a fantastic season. They'll never forget it. We might do it again, but it's a phenomenally difficult task now. So I plead with people really to be sensible, to think about what's going on, to realise how hard this is, and to wait and see what happens. We haven't signed anybody yet of any consequence. I'm sure we will. But this particular team we've got was good enough to finish 6th and 7th in successive seasons. There's not a great deal wrong with it. It needs depth, it needs strength, but these players have done us really proud this year. Brilliant.
Perfectly put. I will leave it to you, Graham, to take us away, really.
Thanks, Chris. Thank you for doing a sterling job tonight. Did you want to add anything about this season before we go? You've asked everyone else for their opinion.
I mean, it's an echo. I suppose I'm in a similar position to Paul Kids. It's been something that unlike anything I've experienced as a West Ham fan, you go into games with actual hope regularly. I mean, and hope's not something I've known as a West Ham fan. I mean, you look forward to seasons. I've seen progressions. It's a very, very easy to like team as well, because it's not a team that's just glam and brilliant. It's not maybe as attractive as when Payet was doing stuff, but they give every drop they can, and they follow those managers' orders, and they play in his image, and they work their nuts off. And I've seen bad players at West Ham loved on that basis. And so it's quite nice to see good ones who also have the respect for the fan base and the club to do it as well. So yeah, it's been a joy in that respect.
Yeah, it certainly has. I mean, as we're saying, we've said several times throughout the evening, this is our 25th year of doing the awards. And, I think you can best sum up the season by saying there hasn't been a better one. I look back over those 25 years. Yes, we flirted with Europe in 98, 99. But I look back at this year, and, I saw games with my son in Kidderminster and in Seville. I watched the game with friends in Frankfurt. Although I might have to think about letting Nick book the hotel next time. It's such a salubrious area. No, it was fine in the end, mate, wasn't it? It was all good.
What are you saying?
It was all good. As long as you didn't venture too far away from the hotel. But the only thing I would say is that I'm probably going to stay away from European games next season, because I've attended 3 in person this year. That was away to Seville, which we lost 1-0. It was at home to Eintracht Frankfurt, and it was away to Eintracht Frankfurt. We played 3, lost 3. So, in terms of bad omens, I'm probably the worst. So I might stay clear next year and let you.
So I'll have tickets. It's fine.
Does that mean I won't have to do a whole 90 bloody minutes on my own then?
Blanked already, mate. Books. That's all right. Me and Noam would go.
Oh no, don't be like that. No, but on a serious note, it was just great to get those opportunities to, you know, sitting there in the back streets of Frankfurt, chatting with Pinky and Nick and Mushy from the site, and meeting others out there, meeting people, you know, that I've not seen for years, Colin Wells and Barry and all those people that have been around the site for years and years, just to see them in Europe. It was just a great thing to experience. And even if we go out at the playoff round next year, you know, they can never take that away from us. And it's just been such a fabulous year to be a West Ham United supporter, and it's something that, you know, as I say, we can always treasure. So yeah, I think that's a fairly decent way to wrap up. It just leaves me now really to say thank you to everybody on the team for joining us this evening. Firstly and foremost to Chris for sharing the hosting reins. Thanks, Chris, for doing a great job and continuing to do a great job on the KUMB podcast. We look forward to more of those next year. And of course, reading your match reports to Noam and to his friend Percy, who have been writing for the site for the best part of 20 plus years now. It will be more than 20 years, won't it now?
Well, yeah, probably 25 at least.
Yeah, getting on for it.
I remember taking on the previews on a temporary basis. Is there any news on a replacement yet?
We're working on it still. Come back to me in August. To Pinky for his words of wisdom. Thank you for doing your job, and to Rio again, who's been around since, you know, the very, very early days. To Nick, who's come in and become a good friend, and also Paul and John, guys that have sort of got involved as well with the site in recent years and become a vital part of what we do, and you know, certainly what the West Ham fan base does. So thank you, gentlemen. Thank you one and all for joining us tonight. Thank you, of course, to everybody who's watched us on the live stream. We do hope you've enjoyed this evening's awards ceremonies. Now, just one more thing before we go. Paul, I think you mentioned about we haven't made any major signings yet. As you were saying that, pretty much almost at the same time, I've just seen a tweet go through from journalist Nico Shearer, who says, and I'll quote, "Done deal, Naif Agurd to West Ham from Rennes, contract until 2026. So there you go. Hopefully, I know the people have been saying that for weeks and weeks, but hopefully that's confirmation that it's done. We'll find out very soon. Of course, there is one more good reason to get up early in the morning, and not to just find out if that deal has gone through. The 2022-23 fixture list comes out tomorrow. 8 o'clock in the morning. It will be there on KUMB. Who are we going to get first of all? Who do you want? Probably be one of the big teams. It has been for the last few years on the opening day of the season. But anyway, tune in to KUMB from 8 a.m. tomorrow and find out who West Ham will be playing next season. Seems like the season's only just ending. We're talking about a new one again. Anyway, there we go. We're going to be back next year, I'm sure, for a 26th season. Can't wait, quite frankly, if it's anything like this year. There you go. Anyway, take care, everyone. We'll see you all again very soon. And of course, as always,
come on, you Lions.